not singularly motivated. It's not monolithic. But they do have one thing in common. They vote for Trump and largely only vote for Trump. They don't even bother to come out, many in midterm elections. And certainly it's even more of a challenge with municipal elections. So if there was a call to be made in the 24 hours before tomorrow's election or the 36 hours before the polls close, one of the things that people who are Trump supporters can do, whether they live whichever side of the cheddar curtain they live on, is make sure they're reaching out to the Trump voters they know to ensure that they are participating in Downers Grove or in Madison or in Milwaukee or in the suburbs. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. And some of the fan favorites online have been putting out these missives all weekend. Milwaukee and Dane County are getting their people out. That's the bad news. Waukesha, Ozaukee, Washington, and every other red county needs to continue surging for Brad Schimmel before tomorrow's or through tomorrow's election. And just to put some numbers to it, because, you know, my sense is from talking to operatives I know in Wisconsin is that there's more enthusiasm for Susan Crawford in that state Supreme Court race, just for example, than there is for Brad Schimmel. That the left is upset about Wisconsin going for Trump and Trump going to the White House. How big is this universe? 600,000 conservative voters who voted for Trump in 16, 20, or 24 that didn't vote in the last municipal election, April of 2023. So we know there's huge drop-off. There's always going to be drop-off, but you want to minimize it. 600,000 conservative voters who voted for Trump in 16, 20, or 24 that did not vote in the municipal election 2 years ago in Wisconsin. Obviously, the margin between Schimmel and Crawford, if Schimmel were to lose, the margin would be well south of 600,000 voters. So it just gives you a sense that in these races we lose, and frankly, in these states we lose, because Illinois, there's a similar dynamic. Even Illinois, so much of it is a matter of people who maybe have not left physically, but have left mentally and are not participating. And the opportunity there, if we can collectively figure out ways to motivate people to do the simple thing of exercising their franchise, even when there isn't a national election associated with it.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You could also text us on that very same line. And the left, this morning is losing their mind that Elon Musk handed out. He gave away $1 million checks to Wisconsin voters in Green Bay, Wisconsin last night.
A town hall, yeah.
Town hall, similar to what he did, in Pennsylvania and Wisconsin back during, the presidential race, and they're crying foul. But no one, people forget that George Soros has been pumping billions of dollars into elections for decades.
Well, people forget something else. All those who demand that Trump abide court orders, which he does, but don't have much concern about people, their fellow travelers, doing the same. They might want to take judicial notice of something even more recent than that, which is the Attorney General for Wisconsin attempted to enjoin Elon Musk from giving out those $1 million prizes, and an appellate court declined to issue that injunction. It was working its way through the courts. He attempted to block it, and the courts have weighed in on the issue. So there's also that, too. They can cry foul all they want.
Did you see him with the cheddar head and the cheese head on, Elon Musk? That they wear the Packer games or the...
I think we're all familiar with
know,
it. Thank
but I'm just saying. Well, I'm just saying. When he, donned that, it was a little. It's fun.
When in Green Bay.
Yes, do as they do. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Also from Scott Pressler, who was on the ground in Pennsylvania and Bucks County, and the sort of grassroots, the voter registration program. He worked in conjunction with Lara Trump in the 2024 race, as she being the RNC chairman or co-chairman. He's in Wisconsin. He's been pumping out social media posts calling for sky-high voter turnout in Eau Claire, Grant, La Crosse, Portage, and Wood counties. If Wisconsin does not turn out, if Western Wisconsin does not turn out, you will face the consequences of being represented by an incoming Democrat. Western Wisconsin, potentially a congressional seat in the crosshairs of the left, as well as our friend Brian Stile just over the border in Kenosha. Those two districts are the ones that Derek Van Orden's district and Brian Stiles' district potentially would be casualties of a Susan Crawford victory, because the left is fairly overt about their intentions with congressional map redrawing. And if you look at Wisconsin's map versus Illinois' map, for example, you can see what happens when the cartographers really get to work with some of the stem-winding districts in Illinois. Take a look at 17 in Illinois, as compared to what Wisconsin maps are right now, which are pretty close to the constitutional principle of contiguous and compact and respect for municipal boundaries. But that could change.
Yeah, and abortion rights, voting rights, power of public employee unions, and redistricting. It's all in play. So people, if you're listening in Wisconsin, don't sit this one out. Please go and vote. And you can vote. My sister and her family, brother-in-law, nephews, nieces, they all voted yesterday in Arlington Heights, but they studied. They knew which candidates to vote for before they walked in. Easy peasy, got it done. And tell others to vote too.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that you need to understand, whether it's Wisconsin or Illinois, is that if you vote for Trump and then you take municipal elections off, you take the midterms off, well, then you're just deferring the victories of the people you voted against when you voted for Trump. You're just deferring the victories of the Kamala Harrises. It requires sustained participation.
Yep.
It is this whole this common sense counter revolution, not a one man job. I mean, these things should be obvious, but for some people, they're just not enough motivation. So this is where it requires peer to peer. I mean, you can't just lay this all on the doorstep of the campaign. They should have done this and they should have done that, and more on social media and this commercial instead of that one, and so forth, and more grassroots. Well, at some point, the citizenry is responsible for what transpires on their watch, particularly when such a substantial swath of it doesn't participate. That's the thing. And the other thing that this calls to mind, which is why the Republican parties, where they exist in places like Wisconsin, where they don't in places like Illinois, if they want to exist in a robust fashion, they need to think more long-term about infrastructure building. Because one of the things you're seeing in that Wisconsin State Supreme Court race and this discussion about the recalcitrant Trump voter is every cycle there is so much wheel reinvention by conservatives, by Republicans, by the right. So much wheel reinvention. See, the way I sort of conceive it is we have a volunteer army, and we have to sort of gather them together every cycle anew. Whereas the other side has a standing army that is awaiting orders, and the financing is in place. And you see this not just with respect to the turnout machines and the ballot harvesting operations, but also with the astroturfing that you see going on around Tesla dealerships in this country. Volunteer army always has to be reconstituted. Standing army, waiting for orders, with financing, ready to do as they're directed. That's an advantage for the left, and particularly if they're slightly more motivated because, well, their resting posture, they're angry about a recent electoral outcome, which they are in Wisconsin. So 24 hours to get it together in Wisconsin and in so many places around Chicagoland and in this state, but particularly around Chicagoland. Are you paying attention in Orland Park to the mayor's race and reelecting Keith Pekow, who's perhaps the best mayor in the state of Illinois? The school board races that we've profiled, the village board races, all the people that called in on Open Mic Friday on Friday and earlier in the week as well. And we'll have more of that today when we talk to that Downers Grove Village trustee.
Yeah, don't forget about the library board, too. I mean, there's 5 seats up in Arlington Heights, and you got to know which 2 to vote for because there's 2 conservatives running.
I mean, it's up to you if you want a say in what happens in your community.
Right.
You know, it's really it's sort of a struggle to understand where people invest their money, where they drop anchor, and so much of their life is spent, and they're so oblivious to what's going on and at whose hands it's going.
And it starts too with the school board. I mean, this race to me is just as important as a presidential race. Honestly, I mean, we can only claim victory for so long because now we've got another race, staring us down in the face.
Well, we'll talk more about that because I mean, the examples over the years where the revolution, the Marxist revolution, has taken place and taken hold, of course, is in the schools, and that includes K through 12 campus, and then redounds down to K through 12, and it's sticky. Yeah, there's been some changes at the top, but it doesn't mean those changes are making their way to the grassroots. Fairfax County, Virginia, big revolution. Installed Glenn Youngkin as governor. Well, I should say counter-revolution. Counter-revolution installed Glenn Youngkin as governor. Well, what's the state of that counter-revolution today? 538.
But now let's head into the newsroom and say good morning to Nikki Whaley.
Good morning. It's 39 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Atlantic editor-in-chief Jeffrey Goldberg's refuting the claims of National Security Advisor Mike Waltz in the aftermath of the leak of military attack plans in Yemen. Appearing on NBC's Meet the Press, Goldberg said Waltz's claims that the two had never met are not true. Goldberg didn't go into detail on how they know each other, only saying that his number was in Waltz's phone and the National Security Advisor likely added him to the Signal group chat discussing military plans by accident. A person is dead. A second individual is injured after a serious crash on the south side. The incident happened on Thursday night on I-57 near Halstead Street. Illinois State Police say that a Chevy Impala ran off the road and ran into an embankment before hitting a tree. The driver, a woman, died at the scene. A man who was a passenger in the vehicle was taken to the hospital. The southbound lanes of I-57 were closed until 1:50 a.m. News is a service of Valdecast Windows. For the discerning homeowner looking for high-quality and professional-level window replacement service, contact Valdecast Windows, your award-winning Platinum Elite Pella certified contractor. Visit Valdecast.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
His influence across the political landscape is unmatched. His knowledge of the details is unprecedented. And without him, the Trump team wouldn't have reclaimed the White House. He's Charlie Kirk, and he's on the move to a new time.
The country is saved. This is your victory as much as mine. You know what I mean?
Here's
this is
my
a victory for every human being on the planet. We knew what we were doing the whole time.
The Charlie Kirk Show moves to a new time starting March 31st. Weekdays from 11 to 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
Spring, a time to get outside, be active, play with the grandkids, enjoy life. But if high blood pressure is holding you back, the sooner you get control of it, the sooner you'll stop being a walking time bomb. High blood pressure is a serious issue. Your blood vessels are constricted, your mortality risk is high. So what can you do besides take medications with side effects? Well, there's a delicious juice that can help bring your numbers back down. It's called 120 Life, and it has natural ingredients that have shown to lower blood pressure. Yes, a superfood juice is showing amazing results for high blood pressure without the side effects of big pharma medication. Try 120 Life risk-free now with a 2-week trial pack. Go to 120life.com and use coupon code 560 to save 15% and get free shipping. They're so sure it can lower your blood pressure in 2 weeks, they'll give your money back if you're not satisfied. Order now. That's 120life.com. Use coupon code 560 at checkout for 15% off.
That shot was money, Lisa. Hey, speaking of, did you ever figure out what to do with your parents' old coin collection?
Not yet. I need a reputable dealer to appraise them. I have no clue what they're worth.
I just finished working on my dad's estate collections. I took it all to Fox Valley Coins. Their customer service was the best. Plus, they're super honest and reputable, but most importantly, experienced. They'll give you the best prices.
Really? They handle estate collections?
Absolutely. Buying, selling, appraising, they do it all. It was quick and simple, and we maintained our privacy. Fox Valley Coins made the whole process easy.
That's exactly what I need. Are they local?
Right in Naperville. They have an easy website to remember. Fox Valley FoxValleyCoins.com.
Perfect. Now let's see if you can return this shot.
Whether buying or selling or just want valuation, Fox Valley Coins is your trusted gold and silver dealer. Visit Fox Valley Coins, 1 light north of I-88 on Route 59 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. FoxValleyCoins.com. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
Can you afford not to have effective video surveillance? Is your outdoor inventory at risk? Theft and vandalism can hit your bottom line hard. Stop these events before they happen. Monitor your business 24/7 with alarm detection systems. We prevent crime with live operators watching video alerts, ensuring your assets and employees are secure. It's not worth the liability when you can effectively protect what matters most. Call ADS at 1-630-844-6322 or visit adsalarm.com for a free demo. Alarm license number 127000143. Spending too much on security guards to patrol your property? With rising crime rates, guards may not be enough. And the cost, it's adding up fast. At Alarm Detection Systems, we offer a more innovative solution. Live video monitoring. Cameras provide extra coverage in even the hardest to reach areas. Unlike guards, they never get intimidated. Our operators watch video alerts in real time, cut costs, increase coverage, and stay secure. Call ADS at 1-630-844-6322 or visit adsalarm.com for a free demo. Alarm license number 127000143.
Stop feeling embarrassed about thinning hair and start looking and feeling your best with Hair Grow by New Nordic. Available online at Amazon, Walmart.com, and NewNordicUSA.com or at your local CVS.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. The Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 15 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, about 7 minutes. Outbound, it's going to be about 9 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the old post office, 12 minutes. About 12 minutes the opposite direction. On the Stevenson inbound from Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 14 minutes. Outbound, it's also about 15 minutes. Traffic is a service of Valdecast Windows. For the discerning homeowner looking for high-quality and professional-level window replacement service, contact Valdecast Windows, your award-winning Platinum Elite Pella certified contractor. Visit Valdecast.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a quick check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Breezy and cooler, clouds this morning, some clouds and sun for the afternoon, high 48, partly cloudy, breezy tonight, low 32, clouds and chilly for tomorrow, the high 45, shower and a gusty thunderstorm on Wednesday, the high near 70. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy talking about local elections, since there is one tomorrow. The counter-revolution in Northern Virginia, Fairfax and Loudoun counties, that started at the school board level with a lot of men and women on the left. Didn't like what was happening in their well-to-do school districts, their well-to-do communities. And so they installed Glenn Youngkin as the governor of Virginia. The narrowing of the margin for Democrats in those two counties was arguably the difference for Glenn Youngkin. So that counter-revolution, I mean, remember, when it's being led by men and women of the left, they're going to lose interest once they think they've sent a message, because there's not really a fundamental principle at stake. There's more like, do you know who you're dealing with attitude that results in a reckoning. And so the Fairfax County, where are we at today? That counter-revolution that was largely about boys in the girls' room, but it was also about other manifestations of identity politics, including DEI. Virginia school puts up controversial ABCs display on Women's History Month. Fairfax County Superintendent calling the display thoughtful. And despite some pushback, he's keeping it up. Well, what's the big deal about the ABCs to me?
Yeah, what is it?
A student-led history project that is part of an elective women's history class. The A is for abortion. section of the display featured an image of a coat hanger and a positive pregnancy test.
That's lovely.
They've been taught well in Northern Virginia, in Fairfax County. Wonder where they got these ideas. Oh, maybe they're the Roffles at home? A wasn't the only letter that turned heads, with former Vice President Kamala Harris being the focal point of the H is for Hope display. H is for Hope, as in Kamala Harris.
So gross.
J is for Justice. And rather than Lady Liberty holding a torch, Lady Liberty is surrounded by trans, Ukrainian, and Palestinian flags.
Of course. Yes.
L is for leadership, and when you hear the word leadership, you, of course, think of AOC and Michelle Obama.
There you go. She's back.
M is for mansplain.
Mansplain? Okay.
N is for now, as in the National Organization for Women, the, second wave pro-abort feminist organization of 20th and 21st century Harridans. Yeah. A is for abortion. H is for Harris. M is for mansplain. N is for now. Q is for...
Queers,
what else would
lesbians.
it be? Queer.
Am I right?
Queer, yes. T is for...
Trans.
Trans women.
Oh, sorry. Damn it.
Please be
Darn it.
specific. That's not a complete answer.
What else you got?
Well, that's a lot of it. That gives you a bit of a flavor of what they're doing over at Fairfax County. And again, the counter-revolution. I know Trump called it a revolution of common sense that he called for in his address to the joint session of Congress, but it's really a counter-revolution. And this is more than a semantic point, because the Marxists, the neo-Marxists are the revolutionaries. Conservatives, we are preservationists. This is a counter-revolution that has been instigated by Trump's victory in November, but instigated as in started, and it will be executed unevenly around the country, to be sure.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You could also text us. We got a text message, Dan and Amy, with a new report coming out from DOGE regarding immigrants voting using Social Security numbers and the growing problem here in Wisconsin. I'm very nervous the Democrats will come through with a win tomorrow.
Yeah, but here's the thing about that, and I appreciate the concerns in terms of the skullduggery they're up to, but I don't hear enough about the concerns of what we or our people are doing. Everything is always focused, not everything. Too much is focused on the other side. Not enough focused on what we're failing to do.
Well,
I just mentioned 600,000 voters in the Cheesehead State that voted for Trump in 16, 20, or 24 that skipped the 2023 election. The last Wisconsin Supreme Court race that went down in flames, where the Republican did. 600,000. So a little bit more emphasis on how our team is playing. I get the ballot security questions and the skullduggery of the left, as I said, to repeat. But I rarely hear about about what our team is not doing, how we are not executing, what is well within our power to execute. And I don't just mean the party, the campaign. I mean the participation of people that say, yeah, I know 5 Trump voters that say, I'm only coming out to vote for Trump. And I'm calling them in Wisconsin and telling them, look, that is not a rational position. That is not being a party to the common sense counter-revolution. You have got to do this for these reasons. Yeah. That's what I don't hear.
Another person in Wisconsin making your point, well, what are they doing to ensure voter integrity with these smaller elections? Yeah.
Yes.
You just addressed that. So.
Voter integrity is an issue. Voter turnout of center-right, commonsensical people That's a bigger issue. Big issue. 600,000. I mean, in a state of, what's Wisconsin? 6 million? 10% of the state population that doesn't participate or is unlikely to participate. I mean, as I said, I was talking to an operative friend of mine. We need to, to be comfortable, we need to get half of that vote to turn out. And, it's a struggle historically to get a quarter of it to do so. It's a big undertaking. George in Naperville.
Yes, Dan, on that alphabet you were talking about, did they have insurrection?
I didn't run through the entire alphabet, but I'm sure that was considered if it wasn't included. Thanks for the call, George. Yeah. Fairfax Women's History Month. That's thoughtful. Just the few letters I offered, that was called thoughtful by the superintendent.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And again, for how many years have we been saying this? But that's happening in Fairfax County. Nothing like that would ever be happening in my school.
Oh, that's
not where my kids go to school. Yeah, right. Sure. No, of course, a teachers union dominated government school system in Illinois, that would never happen here. I mean, did we just have the conversation, and which is ongoing, 2 weeks ago about what's going on in Deerfield at the middle schools? Oh, but that would never happen here. So
it is happening here, and they don't plan to stop it.
So the lack of participation is how you look up and you see the story out of Deerfield and so many other stories that we brought you and say, what the hell is going on in Deerfield? Well, what the hell's going on is that sensible people don't participate, and the standing armies of the left do, and they seize control of these institutions, and they run roughshod at quite a healthy pace over dissenters in the direction of that Marxist revolution that they seek. Now, it's not happening everywhere around the country I'm talking about. There's positive news, too. Rather shocking, actually. Utah, Amy's adopted state. Utah has become the first state in the nation to prohibit pride flags from being displayed in public schools and on government property. So non-sanctioned flags, it's not just targeting pride, it's not limited to pride, but it includes pride. Non-sanctioned flags are prohibited in public schools and on government property after Governor Spencer Cox...
He's my favorite.
Right.
Don't say it. Don't.
He couldn't bring himself to sign the law, so he just pocket vetoed it. I mean, he allowed it to become law without his signature or veto. Didn't pocket veto it. It became law because he failed to act.
That's a Utah Republican for you right there.
Well,
not all of them are like
Cox,
that, though.
I probably, maybe because he has a pride flag in his den, he felt a little uncomfortable.
Okay, Michael.
I'm guessing. I don't know for sure.
Good thing they don't have fluoride in the water anymore. And Spencer Cox is thinking about getting rid of the state income tax.
They don't have Florida in the water?
No, fluoride in the water. No, they voted that out. But I'm also that's huge news if they get rid of the state income tax. But he's thinking about doing that. So
well, let's stick on the culture. I saw they also knocked down their George Floyd mural.
Yes, they
in
did
Salt Lake
in Salt Lake
City.
City. Yep.
And Spencer Cox, who is not exactly the most strident conservative culture warrior out there, as tired as Utahns are of politically divisive symbols, I think they're also tired of culture war bills that don't solve the problems they intend to fix. So he was uncomfortable with it, but he didn't want it to intervene because, well, you would think in a state that is 2-1 Republican, the counter-revolution would be pronounced there, and it is. It is. Only under the new law, only certain flags are permitted for display, including the U.S. flag, the state flag, Native American tribal flags, Olympic flags, military flags, foreign national flags, college university flags. It's just the symbolism and what is extolled is important, and so that was recognized. By contrast, I want to draw your attention to a new flag. At least it's new for me, and I follow this stuff pretty closely.
Oh, what do we have?
This is a flag. You may see it around town, so I just or in your kid's school. So I just want to alert your attention to it. It is like it's a 4 colors, just bars, like a light red. With a I would say a mauve,
all right,
and then a periwinkle.
Oh, I love periwinkle.
And not to be confused with a preckwinkle.
No, don't.
This is a periwinkle, and then a deeper purple.
Okay.
Deep purple.
Red, mauve,
light
periwinkle,
red,
and deep
mauve,
purple.
periwinkle, and a deep purple.
And it stands for. I've never seen that flag.
Exactly, it's new. Semi-bisexuality.
Huh?
Semi-bisexuality.
What does that even mean?
I'm glad you asked. It's a sexual orientation that defines a person who feels sexual attraction towards one gender, usually the opposite.
So that would be most heterosexuals. Or also semi-bisexual? What?
Yeah, you have to define
Real head scratcher.
heterosexuality.
Okay.
Well, you have to hedge on heterosexuality here because heterosexuality is the enemy.
Right.
You don't want to be cisnormative. So what you really have when you have a heterosexual is you have a semi-bisexual. I'm attracted to women, but really I'm only attracted to women usually because, we're all on that Kinsey spectrum of homosexuality. So that's what this is. So to be heterosexual, the new definition for that is actually to be semi-bisexual.
Okay.
All right.
Should we come up with a heterosexual flag? Or that would be, no.
That's just what you're trying to eradicate, so you don't want to celebrate it.
Well.
So if you see the semi-bisexual flag, you won't see it in Utah, except maybe in Spencer Cox's den. But you will probably see it in your kid's school. I just wanted to, and I think the S in the alphabet in Loudoun County stands for semi-bisexual. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today. Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
A Rolex isn't as cheap as a Casio, but while they last, you can buy high-end Beauty Rest Black and Sealy Posturepedic mattresses for nowhere near high-end prices. Hasseless Mattress is clearing out a handful of premium floor models, like a Beauty Rest Black LX Hybrid was $3,599, but now it's just $971. Only a few remain, and they will sell out. Find your employee-free Chicagoland showroom at Hasseless.com.
Enjoy uninterrupted programming from Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson around the clock, all day, every day, including daily replays of Chicago's Morning Answer on Dan and Amy 24/7. Listen now at danandamy247.com.
You never want to miss one of life's most important moments. A graduation, a birthday, a first communion, a wedding. When these moments happen, you want to make sure to capture them so that you and your loved ones can remember them for years to come. For over 30 years, families have relied on Tom Kaloran Photography to capture important life moments. This locally owned family business can provide the solutions you need for your important event photography, from weddings and birthdays to class reunions and golf outings. No matter the size or scope, Tom Kaloran Photography will make sure you have lasting memories to share for years to come. Tom Kaloran Photography is also the official photographer for AM 560 The Answer. To learn more and to see their portfolio, just visit KaloranPhotography.com. That's KILLORAN photography.com. Or call them at 708-361-0025. Tom Kaloran Photography, capturing important life moments for over 30 years.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
This is Albert Mogler for townhall.com. Will Western civilization survive? Well, not if we refuse to deport our sworn enemies. For several decades now, the academic left has seen Western civilization as the oppressive past that must give way to the utopian future. The United States and Israel are painted at the center of the left's bullseye. All this burst onto the headlines when Hamas carried out its murderous terror attack upon Israel on October 7, 2023. This brings us to Mahmoud Khalil, who at the time of the demonstrations was a graduate student and leader of the pro-Palestinian protests. The Trump administration moved to deport Khalil on the basis of his actions. Now he's become a test case for whether or not America has the courage to defend itself and our own values. Western civilization has enemies, and plenty of them are found on our elite college campuses. Our civilization will either defend itself or surrender. Any civilization that encourages its enemies to populate its elite institutions is just announcing its surrender, and it will deserve its defeat. I'm Albert Mohler.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, Dan, how was your Lincoln Day dinner in LaSalle County? You were there Saturday night, right?
I was. It was good. I mean, the people there are nice. LaSalle County is actually, on the upswing when it comes to conservatism and electing Republicans. Not too long ago, their county board, speaking of local elections, was basically a 50-50 split. They had a slight majority, and now it's 20 Republicans to 9 Democrats. They've taken back some legislative seats, too. They've got one more to get. So, so LaSalle County is... Yeah, LaSalle County is not the problem. But, of course, every county, all 102 counties, every Republican has to worry about the brand. That is part of the charge. And so that was essentially the message I delivered on Saturday night, that this brand continues to be diluted and marginalized by people who are its stated leaders that have leadership titles in the party, and the Republican Party has been completely AWOL. I mean, this common sense counter-revolution that we've been talking about, that has to happen at the local level, too, when we have too many people that have wanted to run for Trump, too many Quislings in the Republican Party that are in league with the other side, but somehow still speak for the Republican Party, and there's been no response from party leadership about that. The being AWOL in these fights over sanctuary state status and so many other material issues. I mean, it's just not enough if you want to start winning statewide elections again. And there's an opportunity here, as I sort of alluded to, with all the people that are on the sidelines in Wisconsin. Well, that's even more for municipal elections. Well, that's even more the case here in Illinois for municipal as well as regular elections. But if you don't stand up for people when they need you, don't expect them to stand up for you when you need them, was essentially the point. And, hopefully that point radiates beyond LaSalle County.
All right. Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 6:06, I suppose we should return to some DOGE talk, because the Tesla attacks will continue until morale improves. The left has made that clear. And the ongoing takeaways and to some extent fallout from that group interview that the DOGE team did with Brett Baer last week that we discussed requires a little bit more discussion, which we will do at 6:06.
Yeah, they're not kids that are making decisions. Also, how's your brackets? We'll talk about that, because look who's in number one. Oh, it's Amy Jacobson. My bracket, I'm the final four. I put down, it worked perfectly. First time since 2008 that the number one seeds have made it to the final four. It is now 6 a.m. WIND Chicago.
He says he'll target all countries. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, on what President Trump calls Liberation Day, Wednesday, when reciprocal tariffs go into effect on countries that have levies on American exports.
They will be kinder than those countries were to the United States of America over the decades.
The president also says new U.S. tariffs on foreign cars and auto parts will mean
people that manufacture automobiles in the United States are going to make money the likes of which they've never seen before.
On Air Force One flying back to Washington, the president also again suggested that people want him to run for a third term. And though the Constitution only allows 2, he told NBC there are methods to allow it. And as Fox's Madeline Rivera reports, he also discussed the war in Ukraine that he's trying to end.
President Trump is criticizing both Russia and Ukraine. The president saying he would consider imposing secondary tariffs on Russia if he believes it were at fault for not reaching a ceasefire deal in Ukraine. This comes after Russian President Vladimir Putin called for a transitional government to replace Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. But the president is also criticizing Zelensky, who he says is now trying to reverse course on a rare minerals deal.
If he's looking to renegotiate the deal, he's got big problems.
Nearly a week after 4 American soldiers went missing during training in Lithuania, still no sign of them.
But rescue workers at a military training area in Lithuania have managed to haul the M88 Hercules armored vehicle out of the peat bog. The Lithuanian Defense Ministry says military police and U.S. investigators are still at the site. Poland's been helping out too, sending scuba divers and equipment to assist in the search.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. In Burma, it's up to more than 1,700 people now dead in the earthquake disaster there. In France, conservative leader Marine Le Pen's been barred from seeking public office after being convicted today of embezzling European money along with other members of her political party. They and Le Pen face up to 10 years in prison. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 38 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Maryland Governor Westmore is blaming the operators of a cargo ship for the deadly collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore last year. Speaking soon after the one-year anniversary of the bridge collapse, Moore told CNN State of the Union that the ship set off with serious mechanical issues.
That was a crisis that happened solely because of the reckless behavior and the reckless operators of the Dolly, who allowed a ship to leave knowing that that ship had faulty errors.
6 maintenance workers on the bridge were killed when the ship struck it and caused it to collapse last March. Moore cited a report from the NTSB that reported dozens of bridges across the U.S. had load-bearing issues, but emphasized the operators of the Dolly are the ones to blame for the tragedy. Search and rescue efforts are ongoing for 4 U.S. soldiers missing in Lithuania. Authorities said Saturday that the soldiers based out of Fort Stewart were operating an M88A2 Hercules armored recovery vehicle last week when it sank deep into a bog during training exercises. Governor Pritzker is leading a trade mission to Mexico. The trip will last through Wednesday. A delegation will meet with Mexican counterparts to discuss enhancing collaboration in key sectors such as agriculture and food processing, finance, and manufacturing. Throughout the mission, Illinois is seeking to strengthen the long-standing partnership with Mexico in order to pave the way for future investment and shared success. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Nothing happened. The attack was totally successful.
Was it a screw-up by Trump's team?
A lot of journalists in this city who have made big names for themselves, making up lies about this president.
Or is this just more fake news?
Because of that Afghanistan withdrawal, we have damaged our credibility.
How big is this scandal?
He was texting war plans.
Nobody was texting war plans.
Whether it's formally classified or not, it is very sensitive.
Make your opinion heard.
He's a very good man, and he will continue to do a good job.
On AM 560, The Answer.
You've likely heard about Relief Factor and how so many people enjoy a better, more pain-free life because of it. If you're dealing with everyday pain, it makes sense you'd want to try it first. Well, Relief Factor makes that pretty pain-free too, with their 3-week quick start for just $19.95. An easy, affordable way to see how it could literally change your life. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Developed by doctors, Relief Factor doesn't just mask relieve pain temporarily. It helps reduce or eliminate pain. In fact, the longer you take it, the more effective it is. Trying it couldn't be easier with their 3-week quick start for only $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. And it just takes a phone call. 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. Wherever you're having pain, every day you feel better is a day you live better. Try Relief Factor's 3-week quick start today. Visit ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF.
And paid for by the Sentinel Group. Has video game addiction shattered your family? You're not alone. Today's $200 billion video game industry intentionally hooks kids, fueling isolation, chaos, depression, even suicide attempts. According to a recent American Psychological Association study, compulsive gaming significantly increases the risk of severe depression and self-harm among teens. Your family may qualify for significant compensation. Call now for your free consultation. 800-856-9519. That's 800-856-9519. Big gaming profits while families suffer. Enough is enough. It's time these powerful companies answer for the harm they've caused. This is not a class action. Your family has individual rights, and your voice matters. Fight back, hold them accountable, and protect others from experiencing the same pain. Call 800-856-9519 now. Again, 800-856-9519. Your call matters. Call 800-856-9519. That's 800-856-9519.
Taking a look at the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. The Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 14 minutes. Outbound, about 13 minutes. The Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn interchange looks good, about 8 minutes. No delays. Outbound, about 11 minutes. On the Eisenhower, inbound from Wolf to the old post office, no delays at 14 minutes. Outbound, same thing, 14 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, about 20 minutes. It's a little bit slow right between Central Avenue and Kidsey. On the outbound side, it's going to be a bit slow due to a right lane being blocked right at County Line Road. Traffic is a service of Fox Valley Coins in Naperville. Easy to get off of I-88 on Route 59 in Naperville. Family owned, integrity since 1981. FoxValleyCoins.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Cloudy skies this morning, partly sunny with the afternoon, breezy, and a high today 48. Partly cloudy, breezy tonight, low 32. Clouds and chilly for tomorrow, the high 45. Shower and a gusty thunderstorm on Wednesday with a high at 70. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. The Tesla attacks will continue until morale improves, and they continued in earnest over the weekend. The good news is that arrests are being made. New York Police Department launching an investigation after a man was caught carving a swastika on a Tesla Cypress truck in Brooklyn. And so much of you've probably seen it online as well. A lot of these vandals are caught on camera, so that certainly will aid and abet police. 55-year-old busted for allegedly carving a swastika in a Tesla outside of Planet Fitness in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. Florida woman caught and charged with felony after vandalizing a Tesla in Miami-Dade County. 61-year-old female Tesla driver assaulted inside her own car after being chased down. She was driving in Flagstaff, Arizona, when the assault happened, saying, "I didn't buy my car" as a political statement. But this guy cut her off. I mean, there's video of this, too. The guy cut her off, got out, berated her, and like, tried to attack her. She, like, pushed back. Then he did something to vandalize the car, like keying it or something. It's hard to see. And then took off. But he's been arrested. These people are, of course, lunatics. And this is how the left expresses themselves in the form of temper tantrums all the time, every time.
Well, it's just disgusting. And think about it. Then they're using gasoline to make Molotov cocktails to burn electric vehicles. I mean, isn't that what the left wanted, electric vehicles, and to get away from gasoline products?
Not those electric vehicles.
Uh-huh.
But DOGE's work will continue, as we heard from, basically, I would say the senior leadership of the DOGE operation on Brett Baer's program last week. An impressive group. And just to refresh some of the highlights of their work, and they're on a clock. They're basically on a July clock. They're not going to be here forever. So I'll say the same thing I said on Friday, too. One of the interesting things that was said was by Steve Davis, the rocket scientist. He said, look, the reason we undertook this, stepping away from the other things we were doing, is because there's a not zero chance that we can do it, that we can reduce federal spending by 15%. By 15%. That's the big goal. 15%. So raise your hand if you don't think you can find 15% of misspent monies at the federal level. Of course, everybody believes that, which is why you have to direct attention away from the relatively modest and reasonable, against the backdrop of $37 trillion in debt, reasonable goals of this administration and this team in particular, and focus on Elon Musk as a Nazi and go attack everybody who's driving a Tesla to make the point. We're moving on from just shaming and virtue signaling to attacking.
But this is, and real quick before we move on, this is the owner of a Tesla in Wichita, Kansas. She's in a wheelchair because of a prior accident. A disabled woman, young, went to Olive Garden, came out, and her car was scratched to the tune of $1,000 worth of damage.
It felt really disappointing that this is happening in such a great country, a great state. So for this to be happening in Kansas, of all places, is super shocking.
Yeah, what's the matter with Kansas?
Big crisis on me because physically I am in a wheelchair. I just hope that he definitely gets the correct punishment. I hope he pays all of the damages. It is well over $1,000, possibly over $10,000 of damage. I hope that the Wichita police continue to find him.
It's so
what's the matter with Kansas, Thomas Frank? Well, that guy. That's what's wrong with Kansas. It's a little bit worse than just vandalism, too. This in Meridian, Idaho, outside of a Tesla dealership.
We just learned that a 70-year-old man was arrested after Meridian police say he hit another man with his car during today's demonstrations at the Tesla dealership in Meridian. Police say 70-year-old Christopher Talbot of Meridian made an obscene gesture towards a counter-protester and then hit him with his car. Police say the victim had been driving a truck with pro-Trump flags and had just parked and gotten out of his car when Talbot hit him.
Okay. By the way, counter-protester, because this is a counter-revolution. Thank you. And just again, some highlights from the interview. We won't pour over it, but the DOGE team interview. The $836 million SurveyMonkey survey on federal parks, 15 million fraudulent Social Security numbers, more federal credit cards than federal employees. The co-founder of Airbnb talked about something we knew about, that a giant mine in Pennsylvania that houses everybody's retirement paperwork and limits how many retirements can be processed at one time because it has to go to the middle earth and be processed. I mean, it's just bizarre. 700 different IT systems at just one federal agency. And one other thing, too. Oh, and other things that we've talked about, but they highlighted $600 million in federal loans to children and dead people. That sort of thing. Some of that being the grifted COVID funds, grifted and misspent COVID funds, when trillions of dollars were just drop shipped all over the place, willy-nilly. And also, too, something else, 15% reduction in government spending. But, Anthony Armstrong, who's a banker, part of the DOGE team, made this point as well. All of this, end of the republic stuff about reductions in force and terminations. 0.15% of federal employees have received a RIF notice. 0.15, not 15%, not 1.5%, 0.15%.
Wow.
And yet, and then you hear this sort of, you get the hi hat from all of the, the management consultants, they fancy themselves in the press corps, like Axios CEO Jim Vanderhei.
This is where they're going, but to act like that this has been some well thought out, measured approach is just not believable.
No, had they done that, they'd be in a much different place. Right? I think you talk to Republicans, they're like, it's been kind of sloppy and cruel, when in fact, probably a lot of American people agree with the direction they're going. Had they spent a month or two and done this more methodically, measured the programs that should be cut, articulated what they're cutting, give people appropriate notice, I think most people, and probably even a lot of Democrats, would be applauding a lot of the work that they do. But instead, they have a much bigger mess on their hands and probably don't get the uptick that they wanted from it.
Yeah, I think, number one, he's wrong. They need to do more of the interviews like they did on Friday. That was long overdue, but he's wrong about that. And the whole, if they would have been methodical, it's, look, I agree with your goal, but it's just a process thing. Let Axios CEO Jim Vanderhei tell Elon Musk and Gebbia, the co-founder of Airbnb, and all these other geniuses who've built and run successful businesses. Let me tell you about processes. Let me tell you about efficiencies from my perch at Axios, government-funded media, as we learned from DOGE, thankfully. Among they took PPP money. Axios. I mean, it's really something. What he's saying is, you know what they should have done? DOGE should have operated like every other blue ribbon commission that the federal government puts together. Get together, have meetings, produce a report, accomplish nothing. Oh, no, you got to work with the stakeholders and bring everybody around to the table and give what I decide is proper notice, whether it's statutorily required or not. Because you got to slow walk these things and never accomplish anything. That's a way to, hey, I'm with you. I'm with you on the destination. I'm just going to ensure that there is no way for us to ever get there. This is the same thing you're hearing. Of course we're against waste, fraud, and abuse. Well, of course we want to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse. Just not now. Not now. Not this way. It's chaotic. They had to blitzkrieg. It was the only play. If you were serious about it, and that's the real problem, is that this group is actually serious about identifying $1 trillion in federal spending that should be eliminated immediately. And it's probably a lot more than that. And by the way, when it comes to reductions in force, I'd like reductions in force, but we also should be surgical. I love them to be surgical, but this requires the help of cabinet secretaries, agency directors, senior leadership within these agencies. Like IRS, we just learned a Daily Caller investigation that Lois Lerner's henchman, remember Lois Lerner, who illegally, although she was never charged,
met with
illegally targeted conservative organizations, withholding 501c3 status based on their philosophical dispositions, even their religious beliefs, asking for pro-life organizations for copies of the prayers that they prayed before deciding on 501c3 status. This was back during Obama. Well, her top hatchet woman is still at IRS.
Really?
Yeah, you can fire her for cause. We don't need to eliminate her position.
No.
Those are the sort of people that need to be the sort of enemies inside the state that need to be rooted out, too. And a DOGE can help, or whatever iteration of this operation that follows DOGE once its charter expires. But that's what we're talking about here. Elon Musk, has, with respect to the Tesla attacks, called for, we're going to find out who's funding these groups. Well,
right.
We got some information on that.
Oh, good.
Not from Elon Musk, but from Nosra Ormani, who is a former Wall Street Journal reporter and the head of the Daniel Pearl Project, reporting on this. Get to that in just a second. Jim in LaGrange, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, Dan. Hey, Amy. So where was the lawfare when all this bloat was happening in the government? No one stopped it from growing bigger. Everybody was okay with it. But when you want to trim it, you want to bring it down to size and make it reasonable and manageable again, AKA the way Ron Johnson talks about it, then it's not okay. It's just so counterintuitive. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Jim. So the Action Network, online platform used by far-left NGOs to organize and fundraise. Groups like the Troublemakers out of Seattle, Washington, the Disruption Project led the recent tank Tesla stock rallies. Stopping Musk will help save lives and our democracy, Tesla takedown wrote on its website. The stakes could be higher. No one is coming to save us, not the politicians, not the media. Well, let's talk a little bit about these groups because Asra Nomani, again, the Pearl Project, identified 24 groups that are leading and funding the hashtag Tesla takedown and counting. And their annual revenues, at least as recently disclosed to the IRS. The Action Network mentioned ACT UP New York.
Okay.
Remember ACT UP?
Yeah.
No, they used to throw condoms in churches and stuff. The height of the AIDS
thing.
issue.
But now they're called ACT UP New York.
Well, just the New York
chapter.
The New York Inc. The New York chapter. Climate Defenders.
I love those
Climate
guys.
Defenders Action Fund. Not those EVs. Democrat Socialists of America. Housing Works, Inc., assistance and expertise to homeless persons living with AIDS or HIV-related illnesses. You say, well, what does that have to do with Tesla, Elon Musk, DOGE? Solidarity and marginality. Solidarity and marginality, that's the organized principle. That's what brings all these disparate groups together. That's the coalition built around victimhood, not real victimization, victimhood as a political tool. The Indivisible Project. We've got that here, Chicago. Mobilize Us, MoveOn.org, Planet Over Profit, Public Citizen. You know who founded Public Citizen? Remember Public Citizen?
I vaguely. Who founded it?
Ralph Nader.
Oh.
Rise and Retreat, Swing Left, organization dedicated to help Democrats win. Tax Reformers, LLC, running taxelon.us, which is an offshoot of TeslaTakedown.com. And they've got the goods. If you Zero Hedge posted this story, and Asra Nomani's reporting. They've got the goods on who the leadership of these organizations is. This is all IRS disclosure information, their revenues and so on and so forth. But this is organized. It is financed. I go back to what I said before. Standing armies, financing in place, waiting for orders. On the other side, not exclusively, but not near to the extent. Mostly volunteer armies that need to be organized over and over and over again. The center right needs to do a better job of building and sustaining infrastructure. Not this AstroTurf business so much, but sustained messaging like the He Gets Us campaign that I've spoken about off and on over the last several years, as that has drawn prominence. Because these organizations, part of what they're doing here is list building exercises. They're in the business of recruitment. And so all of these participatory activities are list building exercises and websites and so forth. List build, sign up to do this and to protest that. List building exercises. So they have an ever growing standing army that they can activate. and we do wheel reinvention. One-off, organized, let's get everybody to the polls tomorrow in the state Supreme Court race in Wisconsin. And then that outcome is that outcome. And then we sit on our hands and wait for the next crisis spot. And then we descend there and we say, okay, now we need to stand up the operation here and focus all our energies here. Okay, now let's tear it down and we move on to the next spot. Bob in Buffalo Grove.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Question for me. Maybe you can educate me with regards to the DOGE cancellation of a project that Amy was involved in with her son. What was the story on that canceling of that Air Force internship?
Yeah, so he earned an internship with the United States Air Force. It's called the Premier College Internship Program in Destin, Florida, and thousands of people applied. They took 8 to 10 students, engineers from around the country, and they're they're making weapons of war. That's what their program was supposed to be over the summer, and they canceled it. And they sent him an email. It's because of DOGE, basically, that they're not having that program. And I know another lady, her daughter had an internship in the government, and they canceled that as well because of cuts in government funding. So.
Oh, well.
He needs. I told him.
Go get an internship at Palantir.
Well, this is what I said. You know what? And he called and he's like, I got some bad news, and we talked about it. I said, that's, I hope don't become a Democrat because of this, and just understand that we all, we have to feel the pain for a little bit, and then we'll have a stronger America. So he's actively looking. And Bob, I cannot thank you enough for the very thoughtful, detailed email you sent me of engineering companies that he can apply for. So he was on that on Friday. So
yeah, go apply to Starlink. Thanks for the call, Bob.
Do you have any connections? What do you? I'm writing all this down.
Yeah. You're a big celebrity. Just call Elon.
If I ever can talk to Elon Musk, I'd beg him to give me my old Twitter handle. Not my old Twitter handle, but my old tweets back.
Ahead of getting your son a job?
No, I would. Well, a lot of my son's friends work for Tesla or have internships for Tesla, and those are still intact. And I asked him, I said, is anybody that working at DOGE? Because, they keep saying 20-year-olds are behind this and 19-year-olds, the best and the brightest.
Well, what we saw is, yes. I mean, you may have some of the best and the brightest Gen Zers involved, but
it's not run by teenagers.
Big balls and hairy balls. Well, hairy balls is running it, but big balls, and it's not a bunch of big balls. Gamers running it. The people in that Brett Baer interview, these are sensible, adults. Serious, accomplished people.
Yes.
I mean, you watch that interview with even a little bit of an open mind, you have to come away impressed with both their abilities as well as their disposition and, frankly, their patriotism.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then you're just an apparatchik.
Yeah, and I think it was one of Brett Baer's finest interviews. The American people needed to see that.
Well, it was great. I mean, just organizing it was an accomplishment in and of itself, and just providing a platform to let those guys talk. It was good. By the way, just on Starlink, since this guy is the worst person in the world, Starlink posted in response to the earthquake in Myanmar. Devastating to hear of the earthquake's toll on Thailand and Myanmar. SpaceX team is prepared to provide Starlink kits to assist with communications needs and relief efforts pending any necessary government approvals, just like he assisted the Ukrainians with Starlink access.
And here in America after the hurricane in North Carolina, Nashville.
Correct. Yeah, and I think the devastation from that earthquake is going to be a lot more than initially reported, in part because I was talking to a friend of mine who's in Bangkok, and he said that we don't really know the extent of the damage in Myanmar yet because, the government essentially controls social media.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of videos. You've seen a lot of videos out of Thailand, buildings collapsing and so forth, but less so Myanmar. Anyway, the worst person in the world, Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank that cares about your business and is invested in your success. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Chris Johnson, CEO of Classic Cinemas and proud customer of Signature Bank. We are a local family-owned business that is known for free refills on all sizes of popcorn, soft drinks, and ices. With over 9,000 heated recliners in 16 locations, we marry the traditions of the past with today's state-of-the-art technology. Throw in a 30-minute guarantee and an after-movie mint, and you have the perfect night out. As we strive to make every guest our priority, Signature Bank does the same with their customers. The team at Signature Bank is interested in taking my company forward. They have all the resources and solutions of the big banks, but they customize their offerings to meet my business needs. The customer always comes first with Signature Bank.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Are you an administrator, staff member, or parent volunteer at a private school? Would you like to grow your current enrollment and welcome new families to your school? If so, we want to tell you about a great opportunity to help increase enrollment and promote your school to families all across Chicagoland. It's called ChicagolandSchoolVouchers.com. They work to connect private schools with new families who are looking for discounted first-year tuition. In exchange, your school will receive a marketing campaign to help grow your enrollment. Chicagoland School Vouchers does all the work to bring new families together with your school and help you expand your reach. They've been working with schools across Chicagoland for over a decade. As the demand for school choice grows here in Illinois, your private school needs to take advantage of this program. To learn more, just visit ChicagolandSchoolVouchers.com. That's ChicagolandSchoolVouchers.com. AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Trump none too happy with one Vlad Putin, so he tells NBC's Kristen Welker. We'll start there with General Tony Schaefer, 636.
But first, let's stop into the newsroom. Here's Nikki Whaley.
Good morning. It's 38 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Search and rescue efforts are ongoing for 4 U.S. soldiers missing in Lithuania. Authorities said Saturday that the soldiers based out of Fort Stewart were operating an M88A2 Hercules armored recovery vehicle last week when it sank deep into a bog during training exercises. The company QVC and HSN shopping channels are laying off around 900 employees. The QVC group announced last week it's part of a plan to merge the two channels and become a larger player on social media and streaming platforms. 2 children are dead following a house fire in suburban Carpentersville. The fire broke out yesterday morning in the 1700 block of Kingston Circle. 2 people were sent to the hospital while 2 dogs died. The cause of the fire is under investigation. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Mike Gallagher knows what normal Americans are thinking.
Do Democrats feel comfortable defending horrific, thug, animalistic gang members like Trendy Aragua? And the truth of the matter is, normal Americans aren't on the side of the Democrats on this. And I wonder if Democrats are sitting around saying, what are we doing?
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
Hey, Amy Jacobson here, and oh my God, I was speechless when I saw my new garage floor. Level 10 Coatings did such an amazing job, and now my garage floor shines. Level 10 Coatings specializes in expert garage floor coatings for both residential and commercial spaces. Their floors are durable, easy to maintain, and best of all, done in just 1 day. Hey, if you've been thinking about upgrading your garage floor with that shiny new showroom look, please call my good friends at Level 10 Coatings at 855-510-2628. or book your free consultation online at level10coatings.com. And here's a bonus. Mention me, Amy Jacobson, and you'll get $500 off your project. Call 855-510-2628 or visit level10coatings.com today, or call 855-510-2628.
We always use M13. They can print anything.
They design and price match. M13 does amazing work.
M13 Graphics has helped make our brand stand out. They're definitely the best for less.
Before M13, amateur. With M13, we look awesome.
M13 Graphics, Chicago's leader in full-color design and printing. Set your business up for success with exceptional print products. Turned around in just 24 to 48 hours. Business cards, postcards, posters, banners, brochures, apparel, you name it. M13 will design and print nearly anything for your business. They have the right people in place and a reputation that keeps customers happy and coming back for more. They're a Chicago company that embodies the idea of business integrity. They live it every day. After all, in this country, you're free to do business with who you choose. Respect that freedom. Choose the best. For speedy turnaround, excellent service, and the best pricing in Chicagoland, choose M13 Graphics for all your design and printing. Online at M13.com. Visit M13.com or call now, toll free, 877-M13-1913. That's 877-M13-1913.
Stop feeling embarrassed about thinning hair and start looking and feeling your best with Hair Grow by New Nordic. Available online at Amazon, Walmart.com, and NewNordicUSA.com, or at your local CVS.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hawkburg Traffic Center, the Edens inbound from Lake Hook to Montrose, about 15 minutes. Outbound, it's about 13 minutes. On the Kennedy, inbound from Montrose to the Burn interchange, about 11 minutes. Outbound, it's about, 13 minutes, a bit slow from Chicago Avenue to Irving Park. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the old post office, 13 minutes. Outbound, about 13 minutes as well. On the Stevenson from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 17 minutes. It's going to be slow between Cicero and Kidsey. And outbound, it's going to be about 15 minutes. This report is sponsored by Robert Half. Robert Half research indicates 9 out of 10 hiring managers are having difficulty hiring. Robert Half is here to help. With their recruiting professionals, they use proprietary AI to connect businesses with highly skilled talent. At Robert Half, they know talent. Visit roberthalf.com today. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now checking your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Breezy and cooler, clouds this morning, some clouds and sun for the afternoon, high 48, partly cloudy, breezy tonight, low 32, clouds and chilly for tomorrow, the high 45, shower and a gusty thunderstorm on Wednesday, the high near 70. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Trump is not too pleased with Putin. So goes the reporting from Kirsten Welker, who said that she got a call from POTUS about this. Not happy with Putin bringing up the credibility of Zelensky's leadership, talking about potentially regime change in Ukraine, as well, unmentioned by Welker, but I'm sure it didn't make him happy either. Putin suggesting that other countries should be brought in to help facilitate the peace process, including our good friends China and North Korea. Right.
Yeah, that's going to happen.
Here's Welker's reporting on her conversation with Trump, quoting him.
Just hours ago, President Trump called me to tell me he is, quote, pissed off with Russia's President Putin and threatened to impose secondary tariffs on Russia's oil. Quote, if Russia and I are unable to make a deal on stopping the bloodshed in Ukraine, and if I think it was Russia's fault, which it might not be, but if I think it was Russia's fault, I am going to put secondary tariffs on all oil coming out of Russia. Mr. Trump said 25% tariffs on Russian oil could happen any moment and told me he plans to speak with President Putin this week. The president told me, quote, I was very angry, pissed off when Putin started getting into Zelensky's credibility and started talking about new leadership in Ukraine.
For more on this and other topics, including the ongoing fallout from last week's signal contretemps, Lieutenant Colonel, retired, Tony Shaffer joins us, president at Project Sentinel and London Center for Policy Research, author of Operation Dark Heart, Spycraft and Special Ops on the Front Lines of Afghanistan and the Path to Victory. Colonel Shaffer, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, good morning. Always great to be with you.
Good to have you. Trump not happy with Putin and threatening, as you heard, secondary tariffs on Russian oil. What's your reaction to the approach that Trump has taken with both sides in this efforting of peace in Eastern Europe?
He's been very clear on what he's trying to achieve, and he's been trying to use the tools available to achieve it. Now, the problem is this. There are, as we speak, 8 points on the ground in Ukraine where there's ground conflict. That is to say, the two sides are in combat. All 8 locations, this is from the 4 oblasts to the Kursk area, the Russians are winning. So the Russians are kind of like, we're negotiating, but we're not all that worried about having to end this too soon because they're actually gaining territory. And the other thing to remember, Putin has his own hardliners who don't want to stop the war. So this is, both men are trying to deal with folks within their own country who have views that may be different than the two men. So that's the current kind of Russian side of it. Zelensky has said he doesn't want to give up fighting because they think somehow the French and British are going to be like miracle workers and bring troops out of into magical existence, since they don't exist right now in either the French or British armies, and we're going to underwrite that, which we're not going to do. So there's like 2 philosophies passing in the night. The Europeans want to continue the war and fund it, and Zelensky believes it, which I don't know why he would. And then you got the Russians saying, we're taking our time, we're in no rush. So that's where it's at, and Trump's in the middle. And it's something that Trump is trying everything he can to use the sanction threat to essentially cease all new arms support to Ukraine. Right now, what's going was already in the pipeline under the Biden administration. There's nothing more. So if things continue as they are, and I hope it's not true, we're going to see within 2 months a victory by Russia over Ukraine if all things remain the same.
Well, if you know that, then Putin certainly does, and so this is the slow walking. Let's bring some more parties to the table and have expand the conversation, all this other silliness. So, of course, Trump's team realizes that, too. The secondary sanctions on oil, on Russian oil, is that enough of a potential cost to impose on Russia to get Putin to the table?
No, because ultimately that will help Putin and hurt the Europeans even more. Because part of what's happened, and this has been reported, it's accurate, is that the Europeans are spending more money on Putin, on the black market Putin oil, than they do on support for Ukraine. So it's kind of like the Europeans cannot live without the gas and oil from Russia. They just can't. So you do the sanction, you hurt the Europeans. So it's, I think, a lot of bluster. And I feel President Trump's pain. I'm with him on this. I'm just telling y'all, I know how these things work, and I think it's a great threat, but I just don't know if it'll have that great an effect to get Putin. I think the biggest thing is going to be actually the carrot. If you tell Putin, look, we're going to help open the markets, get you back into the global exchange system called SWIFT, we're going to do some things to sweeten the deal, I think that would have a lot more effect than sanctions at this point.
Well, Lieutenant Colonel, what do you think victory looks like for Putin?
Yeah, great question. So it is full control of the 4 oblasts, the Crimea, the area where they've invaded, and the repulsion of all Ukrainian forces out of Kursk. Essentially, they are in the disputed 4 oblasts, the 4 territories. They are 70 to 75% there, and they're making progress. So that's like, a no-brainer. Kursk, the Kursk salient, where the Ukrainians went into Russia, they're about to get kicked out. They've lost 80% of the land that they initially seized. And I don't believe that Putin is seeking more territory at this point. I think they really do want to just consolidate that. So that would be victory in what they consider their special military operation. Would there be more? Well, the answer is potentially, and that is Odessa. Odessa is something they said they want, and this is why I think the peace deal is more preferable to a Russian victory. Because again, I'm not a Putin fan. I fought Putin and the Russians during the Cold War, so I'm no fan. I'm simply trying to call balls and strikes here. But a victory would look like full control of 4 disputed areas, plus the removal of Ukrainian forces from Russia, and with essentially an imposed peace under Russian terms within the rest of the country. I don't think he wants the rest of Ukraine.
But he wants Zelensky gone so he can put a puppet in.
Absolutely. Well, that's true. I don't disagree on that.
And that would be a bad look. It'd be difficult to swallow that from a PR perspective.
Yeah, and this is one of the things too, is that Russia has had an inherent paranoia because of who they are. And I always try to remind people, it's like, look, I am not pro-Russian, but I do understand that over the 1,000-year history of the Russian nation in some form, there's been a number of things which have happened relating to France invading, Germans invading, and so they inherently want a buffer state, and that's where Ukraine, they want to be that buffer state. I'm not saying I'm pro-Putin. I'm just saying this is what they see as necessary for their continued national security.
I recognize this is a bit of a trick bag for Trump, but just in terms of the stick side of the equation, since, Putin is a thug, and thugs don't necessarily always respond positively to niceties. They respond more to, being beat about the head and neck area. And what if he reversed course and provided more weapons to Ukraine to sustain the fight?
It would be doubling down on what already didn't work. I've said this, I may have even said it with you guys. Within the first few months of the war, I said, unless there's an outside military force, troops, that are equal to a peer state the size of Russia, they'll never win. The population numbers just don't add up. It has always been a numbers game, never going to happen. So unless there's a decision to bring in NATO to make this a full World War III, it's never going to happen. Because the Russians are just kind of slow burning this right now. They're bringing in about 30,000 troops a month. Ukraine's bringing in about 20. The numbers are never going to add up if we simply use the Ukrainians as a proxy. And so the choice then becomes: do you get on an escalatory conflict, graph where we continue to expand and we eventually go to war? Is it worth it or not? And that's where I think there'd have to be a debate about it.
Well, right. And so let me just extend this possibility. And I know it presents all kinds of complications, and some of which you just described. But we can, sending the message to Putin, we can buy time too. We can slow walk this too. So we'll provide weapons to Ukraine for them to continue to impose casualties on your side, hold you at bay for now. And in the meantime, we're going to cut off your access to that black market oil. And if you don't think we can, and we can do it in this amount of time. And we're going to get with the Europeans. And if we need to, we'll publicly call them out again. And there are other things we can do to the Europeans, as you well know. Including on tariffs. I'm just getting started. And we're going to replace that oil and gas that they're getting from you via the black market with American oil and gas. We're going to enrich ourselves in the process, and I'm happy to do that. So then you will start to feel the economic pain of those secondary sanctions I mentioned.
I understand what you're saying. I still think the time it would take to actually implement that, you'd have another probably 200,000 Ukrainians die during that process. And I think that's what everybody recognizes we want to end. Right now, as has been said by Victoria Nuland and others, Ukrainians are essentially fighting our fight. It's like, okay, yeah, I don't know if it's our fight. I understand what everybody's saying. It's just I'm a warrior from the Cold War. I'm a Reagan guy. And Reagan was able to use the spectrum of mechanisms to essentially hobble Russia without having to cause a whole generation of Ukrainians or some other nation to die. So I think there's ways we can do this. I think we just need to stop the fighting. I think if we so choose to fight the Russians, then there's other ways to do it. My judgment is, though, and I was talking to Roger Stone about this last time, who advised Nixon and Reagan both. My view is we need to essentially find a way to get China, play the Russia card against China, because I think our bigger threat is China at this point. And the Russia-China issue is something that we have to be concerned about.
When you say, sorry to interrupt, but when you say play the Russia card against China to get them to engage with Putin, what does that mean? What's the Russia card vis-a-vis them, according to you?
Good question. So when China looks at Russia, they see food. They see a resource they're going to consume eventually. The Chinese have said, and even Mark Milley, when I was on the transition team, said this in one of his lucid moments, that all Chinese military doctrine says that they're going to first go for dominance of the Pacific Rim and then global hegemony. They're going to basically take our place. That's their stated goal. And Russia knows this too. But Russia knows that they can't stop us and they can't stop the Chinese. So they're kind of caught in the middle. In 1972, Nixon went to China to basically get China to come over and start helping us during the Cold War. Right now, I'm proposing, I think people have talked about it the other way around, using Russia against China, because right now they've had an alliance, and that is something that I think we can break. There is no inherent love between the Chinese and Russians. Even before they were communists, they've always had a very long border, and they've never gotten along. So I think we really need to start looking at how we can work on regarding other issues. The other issue is Iran. Russia said they're going to help us with Iran. Iran actually acknowledged that they're willing to talk to us through a third party. That's probably going to be Russia. So as much as it pains me, I just don't think that expanding the war against Russia via Ukraine will do anything to solve the potential of us using Russia for some of these other larger geopolitical issues.
I want to get your reaction to the fallout and, of course, the customary calls from the left for Pete Hegseth and Mike Walsh to resign because they're all about accountability, don't you know? Play a clip from David Brooks, and I'm playing this from PBS because I learned last week that PBS is a unbiased, nonpartisan news source. So that's I want to go to unbiased, nonpartisan news sources like PBS and NPR. Here's David Brooks on Signal.
Yeah, I've spiraled. When I first saw Jeff's story, I just thought mind-boggling incompetence, like something I've never seen before. And it just seemed like, and I've been saying for weeks, the Democrats should talk about nothing but Trump incompetence. But then it got uglier. I was at the gym, believe it or not, when I watched Pete Hegseth come off an airplane and make his first comment, attacking Jeff. But just mostly it was an aggressive form of bald-faced lying that tells you a lot about a guy. It was obvious they were caught with a screw-up. A normal human being, I really think 99% of human beings said, we messed up, we're going to fix this, we messed up. But not the Trump administration. They went on a vicious attack of character assassination, of ad hominem, of all the ugliest things it's possible to dredge up, and that was their universal instinct. And so I found it incredibly ugly as the story went on.
Ruth, what about that? I mean, it's characteristic of a White
and
House
then,
that never admits
then Ruth Marcus, columnist emeritus for the Washington Post, went on to say this is a scary moment, and I'm not sure we can put the international order back after all the damage that's been done by a signal chat. Anyway, Colonel Schaefer, your response to what transpired last week and then the histrionics of the left as nicely encapsulated by David Brooks.
Yeah, well put. So to begin with, there was a company called Carter Heavy Equipment in Manassas, Virginia, that were getting carbon copies of every Hillary Clinton illegal email to include highly classified information. I got that verified in person by a DOD DIA IG who reported that to the FBI, and it got ignored. So the Chinese were getting the Chinese cover company, the Chinese intelligence service, were getting copies of Hillary's email in real time. Then you have the Afghanistan debacle, just kind of doing a couple things together. Lloyd Austin lost 13 Americans, completely failed withdrawal from Afghanistan. So we're supposed to ignore all that and say the signal thing where John Radcliffe, the director of CSI, said the signal app was on government-issued phones and it was approved. Now, it then becomes how did Goldberg get on the thing? Well, I think that's still worth investigating. That's going to be something that people need to look at. And full disclosure, I know Mike Waltz. I know Pete Hegseth. Pete and I are friends. And I think this is all something's going on to get rid of Pete Hegseth, because all the focus seems to be on Pete, and Pete wasn't the guy who put the chat group together. Just saying. It's like, okay, you're all going after Pete, but he's not the guy who did it. Okay. And they're saying, it's classified information. It's like, look, I've been on in operations. I've worked operations at the level we're talking, and I've worked operations at the execution level where I'm out doing something. The information shared, while technically significant, was not classified. It didn't specifically give the target locations, time on target of aircraft, time on target of special ops. None of that. War plans are very specific. They're outlined. They look a certain way. There's a 5-paragraph operations order. That wasn't it. So the way they're doing this, to me, is just reflective of who they are, trying to literally go after people they don't want to continue, as if the international order is going to fall, because we essentially had a leadership group texting the last bit of information to coordinate the strike. That didn't compromise anything. So and the Goldberg thing being in the chat, that needs to be examined. Everything else is just kind of wasted discussion points.
Yeah, there's a lot of conflating too of terminology. It went from it's classified to war plans to attack plans, and they probably have very specific meanings to you, but in the to the layman, they really don't. And so this is what the left uses to sort of bob and weave to continue their line of attack.
And by the way, just wanted to note on that, Pete Hegseth has something called Original Classification Authority. And I know this is going to blow the left's mind, but he can classify, declassify anything he wants. He has that authority. Mm-hmm. So him simply saying, because it was real time and nobody could do anything to stop it, I declassified it. It was declassified. He has that authority. And no one has even brought that up.
Another matter, too, here, I mean, to your point about, and I made this point last week, that Radcliffe, I use Signal, it's on government-issued app and government-issued phones and so forth. I mean, the app did not fail. There was a human error that included Jeffrey Goldberg.
Right, that's correct.
Lieutenant Colonel Tony Schaefer, retired, president, Project Sentinel and London Center for Policy Research, author of Operation Dark Heart, Spycraft and Special Ops on the Front Lines of Afghanistan and the Path to Victory. Colonel Schaefer, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. I always enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
You're listening to Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
It's important to have a heating and cooling company you can depend on. That company is the original Arlington Heights Heating and Cooling. They aren't one of those massive companies with newer techs and subcontractors. Oh no, Arlington Heights Heating and Cooling send only their own highly skilled techs. From service to installation and everything in between, the work quality and customer service is the best. For 40 years, the original Arlington Heights Heating and Cooling has kept homeowners and business customers comfy and warm in the winter and nice and cool in the warmer months. Don't call the big guys, call the best. Call Carrie at 847-545-1700 or visit arlingtonheightsheatingandcooling.net. That's Carrie at 847-545-1700 or online at arlingtonheightsheatingandcooling.net. The original Arlington Heights Heating and Cooling, not the biggest, just the best.
Hi, this is Dr. Dave Nyack, former Democrat turned proud Republican. Please join myself, the Chicago Republican Party, and Moms for America as we welcome Congresswoman Nancy Mace to Chicago on Friday, April 11th. Tickets start at $100 and include amazing food and full open bar. Congresswoman Mace has been a fearless defender of women. She's fought hard to keep men out of girls' sports and girls' locker rooms. She's a fierce advocate for victims of sexual assault. Nancy never shies away from a fight with the out-of-touch left. So let's show our support and continue to expand the Republican Party that President Trump has helped to grow, like former Democrats Tulsi Gabbard, Elon Musk, RFK Jr., and myself, Dr. Dave. Tickets to this energy-filled event are available at nwsgop.com. That's nwsgop.com. And when you attend, please stop and say hello to me. I'd love to hear your thoughts on how we Republicans can win big in Illinois in 2026.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
We'll get a market outlook from Scott the Cow Guy Shellady at 7:07.
Today we are going to have cloudy skies. It's going to be a high of 46 degrees. It will warm up on Wednesday, a high near 70, but severe storms on that day. It is now 7 a.m. WIND Chicago.
Why does he call this Wednesday Liberation Day? I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Because President Trump says reciprocal tariffs that'll go into effect will target all countries that charged for American exports.
They ripped us off like no country's ever been ripped off in history. And we're going to be much nicer than they were to us, but it's substantial money for the country.
The president also suggested he could single out Iran for more tariffs over its nuclear program and perhaps Russia as he keeps trying to end the war in Ukraine. The president on Air Force One last night, flying back to Washington, also again talked about possibly running again.
I have had more people ask me to have a third term, which is in a way a fourth term because the other election, the 2020 election was totally rigged.
Well, the Constitution only allows 2 terms, but the president told NBC over the weekend there are methods to allow it. This is the last day to campaign in Florida before 2 special House elections.
To make people understand that the Trump agenda is on the line.
Randy Fine is the Republican in what polls show is a close race to fill the seat vacated by National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. Democrats also trying to flip the seat vacated by ex-Congressman Matt Gaetz. Elon Musk, who's leading the Trump DOGE effort to slash federal spending, campaigned last night in Wisconsin wearing a cheesehead hat and giving away a few $1 million to people who signed a petition to get rid of activist judges as Musk campaigns for a Republican Supreme Court candidate, Brad Schimmel.
Just if the people that voted for President Trump simply vote on Tuesday, we will win. That's actually all it takes. Just vote. Boom, done. Victory.
The high-stakes Supreme Court race is smashing spending records with more than $80 million spent so far and mega donors supporting both candidates. Elon Musk and his America PAC have spent more than $12 million in Wisconsin.
That's Fox's Brooke Singman. 4 Americans remain missing in Lithuania. The Army vehicle they were in during training has been pulled out of a swamp where it sank last Tuesday, but still no sign of the soldiers. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 38 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. President Trump says he's not joking about serving a potential third term. During a phone call with NBC News, Trump was asked about joking multiple times about serving 3 terms, to which he replied he wasn't joking, while also claiming he has the highest poll numbers of any Republican for the last 100 years. He went on to add there were methods for making it happen and said that a lot of his allies want him to do that. Being elected 3 times as president is prohibited by the Constitution under the 22nd Amendment, which came about after FDR's administration. 2 children are dead following a house fire in suburban Carpentersville. Fire Chief Bill Anishewicz says that this incident has affected the whole community.
It's going to take a lot of support from not only to the firefighters, police officers that responded here to assist us, all the surrounding agencies, and then the family themselves who have to deal with the aftermath of what happened here today.
The blaze broke out yesterday morning in the 1700 block of Kingston Circle. 2 other people were sent to the hospital while 2 dogs died. The cause of the fire is under investigation. Authorities are blaming windy conditions for the death of a truck driver in Valparaiso, Indiana. The Porter County Sheriff's Office says strong winds from yesterday's storms blew over a tractor trailer at Pritt Industries in the 3000 block of Anthony Pratt Drive. Jagbir Singh was found dead outside of the truck. Investigators believe he had been hit by the trailer when it flipped onto its side. News is a service of Quick Delivery Service. Make Quick Delivery Service your personal ground crew anytime, anywhere, any place when you need to move your shipment or freight. Quick Delivery will get it there. Get a quote in advance and eliminate any surprises at quickdelivery.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Larry Elder doesn't expect to see any judges impeached.
Altogether, there have been 15 federal judges who have been impeached. None was impeached for making bad judicial decisions, using wrong-headed interpretations of precedents, or unpopular judicial decisions. Not one.
The Larry Elder Show. Weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
Attention! If you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out collection letters, garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance, and you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it even harder to get out of debt. Don't let tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in taxpayer assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. Let them fight on your behalf, helping to put your tax problems to rest. Call the tax professionals at Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
You've likely heard about Relief Factor and how so many people enjoy a better, more pain-free life because of it. If you're dealing with everyday pain, it makes sense you'd want to try it first. Well, Relief Factor makes that pretty pain-free too, with their 3-week quick start for just $19.95. An easy, affordable way to see how it could literally change your life. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Developed by doctors, Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain temporarily. It helps reduce or eliminate pain. In fact, the longer you take it, the more effective it is. Trying it couldn't be easier with their 3-week quick start for only $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. And it just takes a phone call. 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. Wherever you're having pain, every day you feel better is a day you live better. Try Relief Factor's 3-week quick start today. Visit ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF.
If the amazing regenerative treatments at QC Kinetics provided relief for former pro football player Bobby Carpenter, imagine the potential for your aching joints.
So my knee had been bothering me for a while. I played football for a number of years. I looked at talking to some doctors when I need to potentially have surgery, and I decided hey, let's check out QC Kinetics. I go in there and they look at the knee. Hey, here's the program that we can put you through.
That treatment takes your body's own healing properties and concentrates them at the root of the pain. No surgery or downtime.
The best part was there's no recovery until one day I felt like, hey, this feels like my old self again. I feel better. It's helped me. It's helped my dad. Hopefully it will help you in the same way. My message to them is do not wait. So you can go out and play golf and do the things that you love and enjoy.
Take it from Bobby Carpenter. Call QC Kinetics now for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. The inbound Eden from Lake Cook to Montrose, about 18 minutes. Outbound, about 14 minutes. On the Kennedy from Montrose out to Byrne interchange is about 20 minutes. The outbound lanes from Byrne to Montrose, about 30 minutes. Stop and go delays between Ohio out to Belmont. On the Eisenhower, inbound from Wolf to the old post office, about 28 minutes, pretty slow in that area. Outbound from the old post office to Wolf, about 21 minutes. And on the Stevenson inbound from Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 22 minutes. And on the outbound side, about 27 minutes. Traffic is a service of the AM 560 store. Order t-shirts, hoodies, and more from your favorite AM 560 brands, including Prop University and the Sean Thompson Show when you go to 560theanswer.com/store. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a quick check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Breezy and cooler. Clouds this morning. Some clouds and sun for the afternoon. High 48. Partly cloudy, breezy tonight. Low 32. Clouds and chilly for tomorrow. The high 45. Shower and a gusty thunderstorm on Wednesday. The high near 70. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Sean Fain is the boss of United Auto Workers. He was on Face the Nation over the weekend to respond to the Trump tariffs on foreign autos. And boy, is this the same Sean Fain that I heard during the 2024 presidential campaign? This is what Sean Fain had to say.
It's spot on. Look, we have a situation right now where 2,000 workers were laid off this past year. They built the Ram truck there for years under Stellantis. And Stellantis made a decision to shift that production to Mexico. They could shift that work back in very short order and be producing Ram trucks right back there and put those people back to work. They're in a situation where they need to build a new plant. Yeah, that's going to take a couple years, but there is plenty of opportunity for these companies to do the right thing and bring work back here overnight, just as quick as they shipped it out of here.
How do tariffs make that happen? What is the relationship between a 20 or 25% tariff and getting that capacity back up to where you'd like to see it?
Well, because like everything, the companies abuse the process. I mean, they're in the pursuit of driving a race to the bottom. I mean, the tariffs are, there was a major promise when NAFTA, we go back to when NAFTA happened in 1992, the big debate, and Ross Perot talked about the giant sucking sound that our manufacturing base was going to disappear. He was spot on, and we saw what happened in the ensuing 30 years. We've seen 90,000 plants leave. Like I said, we've seen 65 plants in the big three close. Look, right now, as we speak, in Wisconsin, we have a Deere plant threatening to be closed, and their work being threatened to go to Mexico. We have a heavy truck plant at Freightliner, Volvo, and Mack Truck in Pennsylvania being threatened to be taken to Mexico. There is plenty of opportunity, and I've had companies tell us point blank that they're going to have to bring product back here if those tariffs are implemented.
Fain arguing that U.S. auto plants are at about 60% capacity right now, so they have excess capacity. So onshoring more of the work is not something that would require building new capacity. It could happen fairly quickly, and the resulting benefits in terms of job creation. I love the reference to companies are in a race to the bottom, as opposed to a race to the bottom line.
Right.
Something that Sean Fain doesn't have much respect for. He's really an obnoxious figure, Sean Fain. So I don't know how comfortable you are with these sorts of bedfellows. I know politics makes strange ones, but this is Sean Fain last year on the campaign trail on President Trump.
Donald Trump is a scab. Donald Trump is a billionaire, and that's who he represents. If Donald Trump ever worked in an auto plant, he wouldn't be a UAW member. He'd be a company man trying to squeeze the American worker. Donald Trump stands against everything we stand for as a union, as a society. When you go back to our core issues, wages, retirement, health care, and our time, that's what this election's about. This election's about who will stand up with us and who will stand in our way. Those are the questions that will win or lose this election and will decide our fate. Those are the questions that will determine the future of our country and the fate of the working class.
Mm-hmm. And Trump was on the wrong side of that history, according to Sean Fain back then. But it's all smiles now. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. He's a toady of the billionaire class, of which he is one, said Sean Fain. Kamala Harris, friend of the working man.
Oh, right.
And it really didn't matter. This was interesting, too. I mean, you may remember we discussed it. Sean Fain, when he was on with Neil Cavuto last year, conceded that most of his members were with Trump, and that didn't matter much to him either.
A great majority of our members will not vote for President Biden. Yes, some will. But that's the reality of this. The majority of our members are going to vote their paychecks. They're going to vote for an economy that works for them, and they're going to vote for a president. When you look at these two presidents, the choice is very clear about which one stands up with the working class and stands up for labor, and which one stands for the billionaire class, and that's his base.
We shall watch very closely.
Yeah, the billionaires are his base. Huh.
Interesting.
Well,
talking out of both sides of his mouth, isn't he?
I mean, union bosses generally like politicians. I mean, there's a lot of hypocrisy there because they're always just posturing for their immediate interests, which lends itself to expediency rather than principled conduct. They suggest they're always principled, always looking to get the best for their members, and yet is that really Sean Fain's discernible approach? It doesn't seem to me that it is. For more on this and reaction to a market outlook that is very much opaque at this point, please be joined by Scott the Cow Guy Shellady. Yeah, that means Scott's here. Scott, of course, is a market specialist for Market Day Report, 10:30 to 1, and the Cow Guy Close. He hosts 1 to 1:30, both at RFD TV. Scott, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning. Thanks for waiting for me. Appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem.
No.
So Sean Fain, auto plants have 60% excess capacity. The tariffs on foreign cars, good for bringing work back to the big three. We can more than handle the work. We can add more jobs. And that means better economic times for auto workers and for America by extension. So it's all good. Yes?
Well, yeah. Well, it's good for auto workers, yeah, but not doesn't mean it's good for everybody in the country. I would say, it's nice to want to put this big manufacturing push through, but I would also like to see some other pushes through. And also, I really think that the president needs to get on and do some more messaging, because I think people are now starting to get nervous, and he's running out of political goodwill capital here in the short term. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to help the union members. But you know what? Look at the numbers for the union. Since 1940, that they're all-time record lows, or at least close to it, bumping off the bottom. I like, don't get me wrong, I like the unions. I've got a house in Portage, Indiana. But at the same time, there's a lot of folks out there that have 401ks. There's a lot of people out there that are worried about what's happening to their stock portfolios. So I think that what needs to be, happening is the president needs to, like he has done a great job of messaging what DOGE is uncovering. He needs to message what other countries are tariffing our goods and services at, and hopefully that gets across to people that, hey, we have been getting ripped off for a long time here. We can't have the status quo. We can't continue business as usual. It's going to be rough in the short term here, but ultimately down the road, it should pay off.
So you think some contextual communication from the president would tamp down some of the fears and at least dull the blade in terms of the sell-off?
Yeah, 100%. I think the messaging needs to be stronger. I do, because a lot of people don't know how much we're getting ripped off abroad, and it's until you go to London to try to buy a Maker's Mark and see how expensive it is, then you start to realize and wake up. And not that that's happened to me a few times, but
no, you're right.
So
you're describing it as an economist, of course. Yes.
Yeah, right. And so I think because they have done a pretty good job with DOGE, but they need to do the same job with tariffs, and they don't. And so he's just coming out saying 10% this, 25% that. I mean, look, our economy is $30 trillion a year. Okay, that's about the size of our U.S. economy, and we're only talking about tariffing about $1 trillion of the $30 trillion, and of that tariff, it's on average between 10 and 15%, maybe a little bit more on average. So, I mean, in the scheme of things, you've got a lot of people just nervous. This market sell-off is because I think of more nerves than actual, real spikes. Because when you look at the numbers and the size of what we're tariffing versus our own economy, it's not as horrible as people might want to feel like. And I'll tell you right now, Dan, we need to worry more about inflation than we do tariffs.
Right, but Trump's do you think Trump's focusing on that? Because I just feel like it's all about tariffs right now.
Additionally, I mean, taxes, which is what tariffs are, increase prices. I mean, isn't that? I mean, when you talk about worrying about inflation more than tariffs, I mean, the two are inextricably linked.
They can be, but they don't have to be. A tax is something you have to pay. You don't have to pay a tariff if you want to buy a car. You don't have to pay the one that's now $10,000 more. You can go buy a U.S. car for the same price as it was last year.
But that's wait a second, hold on a second, because this is an important part too. Because once you start, down the road of central planning, it begets more central planning. Trump's message to U.S. auto workers is, "Don't you dare raise your prices," because of course, if you're increasing the price of a competitive vehicle by 10,000, maybe we should bump ours up by 8 because it's still cheaper. And he says, "You better not do that." So now we have, sort of de facto or rhetorical price controls. The message being sent to domestic producers. So it is inflationary if you don't abide the president's wishes.
I'll still stand by that. It could be inflationary, yes, and initially they will be, but until things settle down a little bit, when you can find an alternative or sometimes along that supply chain, Dan, you know this. China in 2017. They paid for 100% of the tariff because they didn't want to lose the supply chain going to, say, Vietnam or India, because it would, a lot of it wouldn't come back.
Right.
So there are a lot of things. There are a lot of unintended consequences with tariffs that we don't know about. That a lot of times those things get sucked up by people along the way. So that when it finally does get to the U.S. consumer, it's nowhere near like it would have been had nobody done their job in the meantime. So I think they can be inflationary, but I think that's a little bit more of a boogeyman than it is an actual fact.
Then speak to your perspective on the inflation concern.
Well, we had PPI and CPI come out a week or two ago. They were a little hotter than expected. We had the Fed's gauge of inflation, the personal consumption expenditure, which came out Friday, which was a little hotter than expected. I still think that they haven't put that genie back in the bottle yet, and I think it's going to be pretty difficult, especially with Jay Powell at the helm. And then if you have some of these things like you're going to get a DOGE check or money gets poured back into the system, I just feel as though that we have more to worry about when it comes to inflation than tariffs. Because tariffs, I don't think a lot of them have been there a while, but I don't think they're all going to last for a significant period of time. I do believe some of them are going to be. I do believe that some of them are going to be a bargaining chip. I do think that that's what he's got in mind there. I don't think he's going to do it forever. But I do also know one thing, folks. You can't have the way the status quo ain't going to go. We can't continue to do business like we have done over the last, 50, 60 years, especially over the last 10 years.
Right, but I think...
Go ahead.
No, I think the controlling expectations issue that you spoke about at the outset of our conversation is an important one. What the time horizon is, because it seems like it's a little bit open-ended right now, and that makes people nervous. They don't know how much they're going to have to endure, how much of a storm they're going to have to endure for how long. I'm going to get you to adjudicate a seeming difference of perspectives from a couple of our contributors in this space, along with yourself. Jim Urio, we talked to, is throwing around the R word for later this year, recession. Jim Perry, on the other hand, this was his market outlook as released last evening. Take a listen.
Investor sentiment has shifted very negatively. We've got $36 trillion worth of debt. That debt has risen by 40% in the last 4 years. The budget deficit has quadrupled in the last 4 years. And with respect to tariffs and trade, everybody has to remember that 90% of that trade deficit comes from just 10 countries, okay? On the top of the list, of course, is China. Our deficit with them is $300 billion. With Europe, it's a deficit of $200 billion. With Mexico, it's about $175. And fourth is Vietnam with $125. Trump wants balanced trade with every single one of those nations. He believes he can get to a balanced trade figure in 18 months. We'll see. It's going to be hard. As far as spending is concerned, the government spent $7 trillion last year. At least 10% of that, $700 billion, was allocated out from the government to the economy fraudulently and wastefully. I think that $700 billion reduction is easily attainable It's not going to be pleasant for everybody, but at the end of the day, the economy is going to do better. Less money in the public sector and into the private sector means inflationary pressures go down and productivity goes up. So yes, I think the economy is in pretty good shape. I think you're going to see corporate profitability come in the first quarter at about 10%. That's pretty good. And I think that the GDP, maybe not this quarter, but certainly by the end of the year, should be running at about 2.5 or 3% again. If we do that, the stock market's going to rally, and corporate profitability is going to go up. Consumer spending is going to keep going because the labor market's growing and wages are growing faster than inflation. So stick with it. I think recognize that there's a case for optimism here. It's going to be bumpy, but I do think that if you save a little money in reserve and put some money into the market in the next quarter at a little bit of a lower level or right around here, I think you'll see by the end of the year the stock market's going to be up and investor portfolios are going to be feeling pretty good. Okay?
What say you? Yuri, I was talking about negative growth, and Jim's talking about 2.53% GDP growth by third or fourth quarter.
I think over the last 3 or 4 years we've been in a recession, absolutely. And I think that I think that we'll slowly but surely be able to come out of it with the things that the second guest had to say there. I do feel as though that the government has spent so much money and hired so many people over the last 3 or 4 years, they've masked over the fact that we've had negative GDPs. We had two quarters in a row of negative GDPs in 2022. We tried to say it was a recession. The government tried to change the definition of a recession. But one thing the government couldn't do is change how you felt. So those people then voted Trump in last November because of how they felt, and they were right. And I think that because of the government spending masking over the recession, when you slowly but surely start to take that away, I think that he needs to also get out in front of the fact of saying we might have a negative quarter or two here before we get this ship turned around. That's what I would do. Those two things: message better on tariffs and message better on the fact that we might have a couple of negative quarters in a row here while we get this thing turned around. But in the end, it'll be okay. So I'm halfway in between Uriel and that second guess.
Okay. Scott the Cow Guy. Shelley's splitting the baby. Market specialist for Market Day Report, 10:30 to 1. Host of the Cow Guy Close, 1 to 1:30, both at RFD TV. Thanks, Scott.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. This new year, get out of debt now. There are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. In 2025, resolve to get rid of your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. For almost 20 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. To celebrate 2025, you can start for as little as $99 regardless of how much debt you owe. Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau and a Christian-owned company. End the endless cycle of payments now. Take a stand. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially cut your monthly payments. Call Christian-owned Total Financial Freedom now for a free consultation at 800-533-6605. That's 800-533-6605. 800-533-6605.
All right. Living with chronic joint pain is like trying to get comfortable on a cactus sofa. Nothing feels good, and forget trying to do the things you enjoy this spring, like golfing, hiking, pickleball, tennis. You're just trying to get by. Well, I want you to know something. Dr. Ashley Caravelli and the medical pros at QC Kinetics here in Chicago are on the case, and they're focused to finally get you the relief you need. They've already treated tens of thousands of patients around the country with regenerative treatments that help calm debilitating joint pain in your knees, hips, shoulders, and back. With QC Kinetics, the science is solid, folks. They give you your life back without surgery, without drugs, and without any downtime. So live a healthier life free of harmful meds. Curious if you're a candidate for these treatments? No problem. The consultation is free with appointments on Saturdays. So call now and find out how easy it is to get back to enjoying life without chronic joint pain. Now's the best time to get started. Spring is the time, folks. You have nothing to lose. They'll let you know whether or not you're a good candidate for regenerative medicine. Call our good friends at QC Kinetics today. 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955. QC Kinetics.
If you're looking to purchase a new home or refinance your existing home, you need to call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender. Bridget, first-time homebuyer, posted this 5-star review about her mortgage experience. Team Hochberg made one of the biggest and nerve-wracking milestones in our life such an enjoyable experience. David and Anna talked us through every step in our home buying journey with a very tight timeline and made us feel comfortable every step of the way. We put in an offer at the beginning of November, and with Team Hochberg's help and expertise, we're able to close on our home by the end of the same month. I couldn't say better things about them and our experience. Team Hochberg all the way. Thank you, Bridget. If you'd like this type of 5-star service on your next mortgage, call Team Hochberg now at 855-563-2843 or visit 56david.com. That number one more time and that website you love, 855-563-2843, and go to 56david.com. Lower.com, equal housing lender, NMLS 1124061.
Take control of your dialysis journey with Vitality Dialysis, where home dialysis meets personal freedom. Manage your dialysis treatments from the comfort of home. No more tedious traveling to clinics nor adjusting your life around the clinic's hours. With Vitality Dialysis, you'll spend less time traveling, less time feeling sick, and more time living life on your terms. Their cutting-edge home dialysis program and innovative home treatment technology gives you the flexibility, independence, and greatly improved personalized care that you deserve. The expert clinical team at Vitality Dialysis provides comprehensive in-home training, along with equipment, supplies, labs, and medications. This includes 24/7 support and ongoing monitoring and guidance so you feel safe and supported. Plus, it's covered by most insurance plans. Visit vitalitydialysis.com to schedule your personalized consultation. That's vitalitydialysis.com or call 224-367-6162. Your health, your home, your way. Vitality Dialysis.
This is Albert Mohler for townhall.com. Will Western civilization survive? Well, not if we refuse to deport our sworn enemies. For several decades now, the academic left has seen Western civilization as the oppressive past that must give way to the utopian future. The United States and Israel are painted at the center of the left's bullseye. All this burst onto the headlines when Hamas carried out its murderous terror attack upon Israel on October 7, 2023. This brings us to Mahmoud Khalil, who at the time of the demonstrations was a graduate student and leader of the pro-Palestinian protests. The Trump administration moved to deport Khalil on the basis of his actions. Now he's become a test case for whether or not America has the courage to defend itself and our own values. Western civilization has enemies, and plenty of them are found on our elite college campuses. Our civilization will either defend itself or surrender. Any civilization that encourages its enemies to populate its elite institutions is just announcing its surrender, and it will deserve its defeat. I'm Albert Mohler.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
We'll return to the local, being that local elections are tomorrow. We talked about the Wisconsin State Supreme Court race. We've talked about a lot of local races over the last week here. We'll talk about one that has been mentioned at 7:37, Downers Grove Village Board. Paul Drabeck is candidate for Downers Grove Village Council, and we know what a controversial place that has become with Leslie Sadowski Fugit in de facto charge. Paul Drabeck, 7:37.
But now into the newsroom we go. Here is Nikki Whaley.
Good morning. It's 38 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560. The Answer Newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Atlantic editor-in-chief Jeffrey Goldberg's refuting the claims of National Security Advisor Mike Waltz in the aftermath of the leak of military attack plans in Yemen. Appearing on NBC's Meet the Press, Goldberg said Waltz's claims that the two had never met are not true. Goldberg didn't go into detail on how they know each other, only saying that his number was in Waltz's phone and the National Security Advisor likely added him to the Signal group chat discussing military plans by accident. Protesters in Chicago are fighting for transgender rights. Hundreds gathered yesterday for the March for Trans Equality, which began at Federal Plaza in the Loop. The demonstration was held a day before the Trans Day of Visibility, an annual event celebrating the strength of the trans community. News is a service of In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr., now heard on Sunday morning at 7:30 on AM 560. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His Word each Sunday morning right here on AM 560. I check out the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Spring is in the air, and that means it's time to check the starting lineup. Leading off for AM 560 every morning at 5, it's Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson, followed at 9 by Mike Gallagher. Moving up in the lineup, it's Charlie Kirk, now heard at 11. Then at 2, it's 2 full hours of Hugh Hewitt, followed by Sean Thompson at 4, Seculo at 7, and rounding out the lineup, Larry Elder at 8. Top to bottom, the best lineup in Chicago radio is right here on AM 560. The Answer.
Mike Lindell and his employees want to personally thank you for your continued support of MyPillow. They have a big allotment of their bed sheets that were earmarked for the box stores this spring. Well, they did it again. The box stores didn't come through, so they're going to pass the savings on to you. Now there is no middleman, so you're going to get wholesale prices on their famous Giza Dreams and Percale bed sheets. Giza Dream queen size normally $139.98. Your wholesale price $69.99. King size only $79.99. Percale queen size normally $89.98. Your wholesale price $29.98. King size only $34.98. So go to mypillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201. Free shipping options available. This allotment won't last long. When they're gone, they're gone. So remember, go to mypillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 to get these amazing wholesale offers.
Hi, everyone. This is Ben Barzita.
And I'm Matt Nadeau, and we're founding partners of Barzita and Nadeau Wealth Management.
You may remember us as co-hosts of Money Hour Radio, which aired weekly for the past decade right here on AM 560. Now we're excited to announce that we've launched our own independent, comprehensive wealth management firm right here in Barrington, Illinois.
At Barzita and Nadeau Wealth Management, we bring the same passion, expertise, and integrity you've come to expect, with one key difference: complete independence. As fiduciaries, we put your interests first, always. Whether you're saving for college, preparing for retirement, or protecting your wealth, we provide personalized guidance every step of the way.
And of course, we continue to manage investments with our Advance and Protect tactical strategies focused on risk management and long-term growth.
So if you're looking for a team that truly prioritizes your financial future, let's talk. Visit bnwealth.com or call us today at 847-780-2980.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Hi, I'm Chuck McDowell, the timeshare cancellation guy and founder of Wesley Financial Group. And I want to set the record straight. I am not an attorney. I've never wanted to be an attorney. And the truth is, I really don't even like attorneys. If I sound like an attorney, I'll apologize. But what I've learned in my 15 years in the timeshare cancellation business is you don't need to be an attorney to get folks out of their timeshare. At Wesley, we've helped over 40,000 families cancel their timeshare, and I want to share with you how we do it. Just give my office a call. I guarantee if we take you as a client, we'll get you out of your timeshare, or you'll pay nothing. Attorneys, this was meant to be funny, so please don't sue me, especially my friend Kenneth from Black River Falls, Wisconsin.
Call now for your free timeshare exit info kit. 800-919-1441. 800-919-1441. 800-919-1441.
Need to hire quality candidates fast? You need Indeed. Our video interview tool makes it easy and effortless to meet with candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
To get a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. The inbound Eden from Lake Cook to Montrose about 18 minutes, outbound about 14 minutes. On the Kennedy from Montrose out to Byrne interchange is about 20 minutes. The outbound lanes from Byrne to Montrose about 30 minutes. Stop and go delays between Ohio out to Belmont. On the Eisenhower, inbound from Wolf to the old post office, about 28 minutes, pretty slow in that area. Outbound from the old post office to Wolf, about 21 minutes. Traffic is a service of the daily podcast of Chicago's Morning Answer and the Sean Thompson Show. Hear both shows with limited commercials when you subscribe for free to the daily podcast at 560theanswer.com/podcast. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a quick check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Breezy and cooler, clouds this morning, some clouds and sun for the afternoon, high 48. Partly cloudy, breezy tonight, low 32. Clouds and chilly for tomorrow, the high 45. Shower and a gusty thunderstorm on Wednesday, the high near 70. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Tomorrow is Election Day, municipal elections, local elections, state Supreme Court election in Wisconsin, of course. In Downers Grove, which has become, it's even difficult for me to say, but it's just so true, been a sort of a hotbed of leftist activism. The neo-Marxists have been ascendant in Downers Grove, as they have in DuPage County generally over the last decade. Really taking control. I'm sure some people have noticed. I know a lot of people are scratching their heads. How did it happen? Well, we've focused on Downers Grove quite a bit just because of the controversies of Drag Queen Story Hour, fiercely defended by the leading light of the left, it seems to me, in Downers Grove, Leslie Sadowski-Fugit, who is a village board member and I think aspiring mayoral candidate.
Drag Queen bingo. Well, she's going to run for mayor?
I'm sure she has big aspirations. She wants to grow up to be Anastasia Murray or something like that. The library controversies, Bill Nienberg, friend of the show, was thrown off this voluntary library board for daring to cross Leslie Sadowski-Fugit. And it's also a story about how libraries become these incubators of leftism because they're staffed by a bunch of leftists and people not paying attention, and the not only the staffing, but then they go out for bond issues and they build these Taj Mahal libraries like we saw in Lombard. I mean, it's just remarkable how easy it is to completely lose control of your community. And so this is a refrain for DuPage County and a lot of Chicago suburbs. Paul Drabeck is used to fighting other people's fights because he's a U.S. Army combat veteran, served in Iraq. He's a data finance professional who has been rather outspoken in Downers Grove when many have not been. And I guess, like so many, he was really animated by the COVIDian policies of that bygone era from 5 minutes ago. Paul Drabeck is a candidate for village board in Downers Grove. He joins us now. Paul, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Hi, Dan and Amy, for having me on.
So it was the school shutdowns and idiot circles and mandatory masks and mandatory vax and all that really got you awakened and involved?
Yeah. So I had gone to the school board meetings and started speaking out about the masking and the shutdowns and so forth, and met a bunch of like-minded parents, and then started kind of uncovering the lid to what kind of radical leftism was going on in the rest of our community, as you mentioned, particularly in the library. And Downers Grove seems to be a hotbed for controversy in that sense. People like our mutual friend Leslie, who I hear you're not exchanging Christmas cards with anymore.
No, she's not a fan of mine.
Sorry, relationship's gone sour.
Yeah. She hates me too. I've never actually had a conversation with her, but
that's not required for her to hate you, right?
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, I started looking into the library, and there's obviously you guys mentioned the drag queen bingo event, which the town went crazy about. We filled the town hall. They claim that threats shut it down. It's like, no, of course not. It was people that didn't want it at the library. But since then, they've had Pride Story Hour for 2 to 6 year olds. They hired a social work intern who held a transgender Santa Claus event for children at the Methodist Church. HBO covered that. They created a native land statement because, we need to be sorry about killing Indians in 2025. They spent $160,000 on a DEI consultant who claimed Downers Grove was historically racist. And recently, thanks to some constituents that came to my event, we found that they were shelving the kids section with pornographic cartoon porn books for children from 4 to 8, describing the sexual act in complete detail and even showing pictures of coitus, people engaged in sex, cartoon adults engaged in sex. So you can find all that stuff on my website, www.pauldrabick.com.
Yeah, it's interesting that DEI contract really that one really roils me, because I was willing to do the Downers Grove is racist report for $150,000, and they didn't give it to me. They gave it to that woman who they paid $160,000. So yeah,
well, Dan, you know the government loves to spend money. They're not gonna, they don't care about how cheap it is.
Well, so I mean, so what is the? I mean, so Downers Grove as a canary in the coal mine for DuPage County, for example. What is your sense of it? Is the counter-revolution really coming to Downers Grove? Have people had enough of being scolded by the Leslie Sadowski Fugits of the world?
Well, that's been my experience. I've gotten a ton of traction. I have a little background with podcasts and write for the Gateway Pundit, so maybe I'm an outlier, but I've got a ton of traction on Facebook. Facebook's a good place for local, I think. And then, I've sold out my yard signs. So I think that in Illinois, there's this general apathy toward Republicans because they haven't stood up like this and said, no, I don't care that you call me a Nazi, which leave it to the Democrats to cheapen that phrase. And I'm going to stand up for my principles. I'm going to stand up for my conservative values. And now that you have cheapened the terms like Nazi, white supremacist, homophobe, we can just stand on our principles and say no to this cultural nonsense and this insanity. So people are excited about that. I think you just need a leader to get out in front, and people will follow. So seems to be working. Hopefully that results in an election win tomorrow.
So there's 3 city council members that you vote for tomorrow. Are you running on a ticket with 2 other people? Running as
No,
a group?
I'm not running as a slate, but I would say because of my outspokenness, we've had one candidate in particular, Matt Novak, who has spoken out with a Facebook video saying, it's not okay to have cartoon porn books in the kids section of the library. And he spoke about the free speech zones that we have in our park district parks now. So just last week, Downers Grove was on the cover of the Sun-Times because we have free speech zones, these little relegated squares in our parks. And then our second pedophile, our
like
second
idiot
pedophile.
circles.
Well, wait. Before we get to Downer South, the idiot circles were replaced by free speech zones.
How big is the zone? How many square feet?
Oh, I can't even remember. They have a sign in front of it, but they actually stopped a political candidate while she was trying to speak to people at the park one day and relegated her to one of these zones.
To the zone.
And I have leftists. I have leftists who are actually arguing with me about this. Well, case law. Same thing with the library and the books. They're quoting the First Amendment, and I try to explain to these people, the government doesn't exercise your free speech for you. When the public institution uses your tax dollars to put cartoon porn books into the library, it's called propaganda, not free speech. You can buy those books on Amazon. Don't force me to subsidize your depravity. So it's
and I don't understand, but on the free, yeah. So I get that, right? That's editorial discretion. It's not censorship. You're not eliminating the books from print. It's just a specious argument. But the free speech zone. So give me the philosophy behind that policy, as you understand.
Yeah. So I think they have quoted specific case law to say there's certain instances where They want to protect the public from, protesters if there's a kids event there, things like this. They'll do things at parks where they'll, shield lighting from surrounding neighborhoods or shield noise from surrounding neighborhoods. But my contention is like we already have laws for, disturbing the peace, right? Things of this nature. And if you don't want your kids' event to get disrupted by protesters, then have it on private property. The public space is for everybody. And when the government tells you that you have to be relegated to a zone, I mean, the way I read the First Amendment is they're abridging your free speech. I really don't care what case law says. I mean, if a park district employee comes up to me and says I have to go over to the square, to exercise my First Amendment right, then that's the government abridging my First Amendment.
Well, it's a
right.
15 by 15 foot zone, so you can have a few other people, but not a huge crowd in there. I mean, it's so
like
ridiculous.
A table or a tent.
I mean, are they going to call the police on you if you're outside of the free speech zone?
Well, I might just have to test it out, Amy. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
to get a little bit of a profile, I might as well keep going with it.
It's a solution in search of a problem. I mean, to formally create zones, but this is the way that the statist thinks. So, so it's you and Novak for Village Council tomorrow, and if you two were successful, then what happens in Downers Grove?
So my whole campaign is about citizens first. I think these people, like you said, statists, they're about the government and themselves, not the people who they're supposed to be representing. And I've also called for accountability, common sense, and transparency in government, some simple things. I've been scolded by the mayor and other candidates saying, well, we don't have any control over other taxing districts. Well, you have a platform. You have a platform in your town, you've had 2 pedophiles at your high school get arrested in the last 3 years, 3 speech zones in your park, a social work intern hired at the library who had a transgender Santa Claus event. And these were all covered by, big media outlets, and they have said nothing. These people want you to think we live in Mayberry. But the LGBTQ pride, secular religion is trying to take over and introduce cartoon porn books to your kids and all kinds of other things. So I'm just trying to shine a spotlight on that and provide a different perspective on Village Council because they want you to think that everything is hunky-dory.
And then with respect to this other issue that Bill Nienberg has brought up, the former library board member, then with you and with Novak, then you take up the issue of an elected library board rather than one that's appointed and can be removed by the village board?
Yeah, so there's a few things that can be done there. The other council members or the candidates will have you think that it can't be done. We have like 26 elected library boards in DuPage County. But furthermore, I would just point to the incident where they kicked off our mutual friend, Bill Nienberg. We have a library director who has broken Illinois law, violated law, and likely our Fourth Amendment rights by releasing all library card holder names to the public. We affirmed that with the Illinois Attorney General. We've made it known to the library board and the Village Council. Crickets. So what we can do is say, when we're on the council and we have the numbers, say we're going to remove each and every one of you library board members until you either do what we want, fire this director, depoliticize the library, or you can create a resolution. We'll send it down to Springfield, and we'll have an elected library board, and you'll still be part of the village government. There are solutions. Like, I would always point to the leftists who love to engage in lawfare. People who love government know that government can always come up with a solution to provide their own incentives. So, if the people want to provide their own incentives, we can certainly use government to do so.
Did you ever have any ambition to run for office before COVID?
I had been speaking publicly a lot with the American Legion. I had a friend there in Westmont who brought me on in the American Legion, said that I was a good public speaker, asked if I should, wanted to do that. And so I started to do that. I started to get interested in it. When I got involved in politics, I challenged the local Republican Party for certain things, not calling out some of the sexualization of the kids, some of that stuff, and, started a podcast. So it all kind of just happened naturally. And then people encouraged me to run for office, and, I served our country in combat, and I guess the way I look at it is I'm obligated to serve. If I'm capable, then I'm obligated, and so I'm just trying to go with it. Politics can be a little bit of a nasty sport, however, so I'm taking it one day at a time.
Paul Drabek, he's a candidate for Village Board, Downers Grove. He's on the ballot tomorrow, along with Novak. What's his name, Matt Novak?
Yeah, Matt Novak.
Matt Novak. So Matt Novak and Paul Drabek, Village Board candidates in Downers Grove, on the ballot tomorrow. Paul, thanks for joining us. Good luck.
Dan, Amy, appreciate it.
Thank you. Good luck. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer. Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
Let's face it, the world is uncertain these days, but there's something reassuring about holding onto what lasts. The 2025 1-ounce Gold Eagle from the U.S. Mint, a symbol of American strength and an asset that stands the test of time. You can trust gold, and you can trust Global Coin. Call 833-SPOT-GOLD to secure this magnificent coin graded in pristine MS-70 condition for the dealer cost of $30.99. Free shipping, no sales tax. This is your chance to own a piece of history while building a foundation of enduring value. It gets even better. Global Coin is giving the first 100 callers a free MS-70 2025 Silver Eagle to complement your 1-ounce Gold Eagle. Two iconic coins, a symbol of prosperity and a testament to the enduring value of gold and silver. Global Coin backs every purchase with a 30-day return policy, ensuring your peace of mind. Visit globalcoindeal.com or call 833-SPOT-GOLD. No gimmicks, incredible coins at incredible prices. Again, that's 833-SPOT-GOLD.
All right. Crime in Illinois, as you know, is out of control, especially violent crime. I'm sure you saw what happened over the weekend in front of the AMC Theater and NBC 5 Tower. What a racket. I mean, oh my goodness. So I don't always feel safe in my home, whether it's a strange noise when I'm sleeping or when I leave for work early in the morning. So I had a technician from Goldilocks give me a free security assessment of my house. The technician knew what intruders are looking for and gave me a personalized plan to secure my home. Goldilocks offers state-of-the-art smart home security systems with HD cameras, motion detectors, smart locks, and mobile notifications. I can't wait for Goldilocks to install my system in a few days. Actually, they're coming over tomorrow. And I will sleep easier and have peace of mind finally 24/7. Now, Goldilocks Google reviews are incredible, folks, and they've been around since 1981. They also offer commercial security systems for any size business. Tell them Amy Jacobson sent you, and guess what? Goldilocks will include 3 months of monitoring for free with any new install. Call them today, 708-899-5600. That's 708-889-5600. Again, 708-889-5600, or visit them online at Goldilocks.com.
Struggling with arthritis, back pain, or sore muscles? Get fast, long-lasting relief with Ken's Pain Relief. Ken's Pain Relief is a powerful doctor-recommended roll-on that cools, soothes, and relieves pain in minutes so you can get back to doing what you love. Made in the USA, Ken's Pain Relief is safe, effective, and backed by a 30-day money-back guarantee. Try it today. Order now at kenspainrelief.com or call 800-898-3755. That's kenspainrelief.com or call 800-898-3755. Don't let pain slow you down.
It's tax season. By now, we're all a bit tired of numbers, but here's one you need to hear. $16.5 billion. That's how much money in refunds the IRS flagged for possible identity fraud last year. Now, here's a good number, $100 million. That's how many data points LifeLock monitors every second. If your identity's stolen, they'll fix it guaranteed. Save up to 40% in your first year with promo code CLAY. Visit LifeLock.com. That's LifeLock.com, promo code CLAY. Terms apply.
Progressive presents Employee of the Month. Small Business Edition. Today's recipient from Lucky Larry's Landscaping, Larry! Larry saved his business money with a quick commercial auto quote from Progressive. Does it help he's his own marketing manager, accountant, executive assistant, and never been late? Technically, yes, but saving really put him over the edge. So, Larry, give Larry a round of applause. Be your own Larry. See if you could save in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
At AlmostFreeTeeth.com, they're dedicated to making smiles great again. If you have medical PPO insurance, find out how you could save 90% off on average to get a beautiful dental implant-supported smile. Check if you qualify right now at AlmostFreeTeeth.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
It was BLM Brandon's birthday over the weekend, but it was the Chicago Teachers Union who got the presents at 7:07.
And what's our mayor doing in St. Louis? It's now 8 a.m. WIND, Chicago.
Elon Musk goes to the CIA. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, and he'll meet today with Director John Ratcliffe. As Fox's Madeline Rivera reports, Musk keeps pushing DOGE's controversial plans to slash federal jobs and spending.
Musk is pushing ahead with his efforts to cut costs as people around the country continue their protests against him. There were several Tesla takedown demonstrations across the U.S. and Europe over the weekend. This comes as vandalism and attacks targeting Tesla property grow.
Musk is the CEO of Tesla. Last night in Wisconsin, he called the protests and threats not cool, as Musk campaigned for a Republican Supreme Court candidate, giving away a few $1 million to voters who signed a petition to get rid of activist judges. As for tomorrow's election in Wisconsin,
we got to pull a rabbit out of the hat next level. We're actually going to have a steady stream of rabbits out of the hat, like it's an arc of rabbits flying through the air and landing in a voting booth.
Now, there are two special House elections also tomorrow in Florida. Randy Fine, the Republican in what polls show as a close race to replace National Security Advisor Mike Waltz in Congress, tells Fox.
The important thing is for those who agree with President Trump, who support the Trump agenda. My opponent is endorsed by Bernie Sanders.
President Trump is touting Liberation Day, which is what he calls Wednesday, when new U.S. reciprocal tariffs go into effect, targeting all countries, he says, that have tariffed American exports.
The tariffs will be far more generous than those countries were to us.
The president on Air Force One last night, flying back to Washington, also said he's considering new tariffs on Iran and Russia. 4 American soldiers remain missing in Lithuania, but the army vehicle they were in has been pulled from a swamp today.
Poland's been helping out too, sending scuba divers and equipment to assist in the search. The 4 U.S. soldiers and their vehicle went missing at the Pobrade training ground near the border with Belarus last Tuesday.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. The search continues for survivors under earthquake level in Burma. More than 1,700 people dead. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 37 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Goldberg didn't go into detail about how he knows Waltz, only saying his number is in Waltz's phone, and the National Security Advisor likely added him to a Signal group chat discussing military plans by accident. Goldberg went on to say he's not worried about the Trump administration targeting him with legal action. Maryland Governor Wes Moore is blaming the operators of a cargo ship for the deadly collapse of this Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore last year. Speaking soon after the 1-year anniversary of the bridge collapse, Moore told CNN State of the Union that the operators of the Dolly vessel allowed the ship to sail despite serious mechanical issues. The feds are searching for a man accused of robbing a bank in downtown. The crime happened on Thursday afternoon at the Citibank at 69 and West Washington Street. The FBI says the suspect demanded money at the bank and implied he had a weapon. The man was wearing a light hoodie, reflective sunglasses, a medical mask, a gray long-sleeve shirt, a blue polo, denim pants, and light sneakers. Indiana State Police say no cattle were lost after a truck hauling cows overturned on an expressway ramp in northwest Indiana last week. The incident happened on Friday morning on the northbound I-65 ramp onto westbound 8094 in Gary. The ruck was loaded with 127 cows and none of them got loose. Police were able to set up a pen and get the cattle out of the vehicle as the crews worked to upright the truck. News is a service of Goldilocks, offering Chicagoland's state-of-the-art smart security systems to protect your home or business. AM 560 listeners receive 3 months of monitoring free with new installs. Get peace of mind by calling Goldilocks at 708-889-5600. That's 708-889-5600. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes, but now time for the Signature Bank Business Beat.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Apple hit with a fine by France's antitrust watchdog. The French Competition Authority ordering the tech giant to fork over $162 million over its app tracking transparency tool. The watchdog said Apple violated competition law. The tool allows iPhone and iPad users to decide which apps can track their activity. The CEO of Primark has resigned following an investigation into his alleged inappropriate behavior toward a woman. Paul Marchand had been the CEO of Primark, one of Europe's biggest fast fashion retailers, since 2009. Primark has 451 stores in 17 countries across Europe and the U.S. And Yum Brands CEO David Gibbs is retiring in early 2026. Yum Brands is the parent company of KFC, Taco Bell, and Pizza Hut. And that's your Fox Business Report. I'm Laura Cantor, invested in you.
When you need to talk about what's happening today.
Hey, can I talk to you for a second?
There's one place you can come to. The Sean Thompson Show.
Do it! Do it, I dare you. Do it!
Get in the conversation.
Everybody talks about that show. Sounds great, doesn't it?
Weekdays starting at 4.
This is easy.
I like his honesty and his frankness. Every day I listen to him, I learn.
He says what's on his mind. He's real.
Best person out there to listen to. We're combating people who prefer the lie.
He's Sean Thompson, only on AM 560. The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Bob Chivato, owner of Go Exceed and a customer of Signature Bank. By leveraging AI and machine learning, we provide data management solutions for corporations to save time and money managing their cellular devices. While we rely on machines to help us run our business, we believe personal relationships are essential. This is why we chose Signature Bank. Having a banking partner who understands our background, our business, and our priorities is fundamental to our success. Any bank can provide basic services, but having a bank that you can trust, one that looks out for you and treats your business like its own, that's irreplaceable.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Call Signature Bank at 773-467-5600 or visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Virago is fending off viruses and making America healthy again.
Hi, my name is Dr. Michael Huber. I'm one of the co-founders of Virago, the immune enhancement cocktail. Virago contains 23 natural ingredients that work synergistically to boost your immune system. Virago's natural ingredients also protect your heart, your brain, and your liver through its anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. Virago also promotes healthy gum health. So go to myvirago.com, that's myvirogo.com, and use promo code IMMUNE to get 30% off. And remember, Maha starts with Virago.
Boost your immune system with Virago. Order your bottle today. Visit myvirago.com. That's myvirogo.com.
And use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%.
That's myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. Virago and Maha, making America healthy again.
You've likely heard about Relief Factor and how so many people enjoy a better, more pain-free life because of it. If you're dealing with everyday pain, it makes sense you'd want to try it first. Well, Relief Factor makes that pretty pain-free too, with their 3-week quick start for just $19.95. An easy, affordable way to see how it could literally change your life. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally, developed by doctors. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain temporarily, it helps reduce or eliminate pain. In fact, the longer you take it, the more effective it is. Trying it couldn't be easier with their 3-week quick start for only $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. And it just takes a phone call. 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. Wherever you're having pain, every day you feel better is a day you live better. Try Relief Factor's 3-week quick start today. Visit ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. The Edens inbound from Lake to Montrose, about 17 minutes. Outbound, it's a little bit slow. It's about 16 minutes. Now inbound on the Kennedy from Montrose to the Burn interchange, about 37 minutes. Some stop and go delays between Montrose and Armitage. Again, it's going to be slow between North Avenue and Chicago Avenue. Now on the outbound side, it's going to be very slow, about 40 minutes between the Burn interchange to Montrose. That's due to slow traffic between Chicago Avenue and Sacramento Avenue. Traffic is a service of almostfreet.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants with medical PPO insurance? It's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualified today at almostfreet.com, making smiles great again. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a quick check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Cloudy skies this morning, partly sunny with the afternoon, breezy and a high today 48. Partly cloudy, breezy tonight, low 32. Clouds and chilly for tomorrow, the high 45. Shower and a gusty thunderstorm on Wednesday with a high at 70. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Anybody go other than Amy pay the $250 to celebrate Brandon Johnson's birthday over the weekend. He is 49. Woo! And
49. Oh, see?
Way to step on Kim Fox's line.
I'm sorry. You want to play it again? You want to do over?
Brandon Johnson is 49 and still fine. He absolutely is.
Woohoo!
Happy birthday, Mr. Mayor. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line if you want to offer your birthday wishes. We're going to collect them and send them over to the 5th floor. Interestingly, though, it was the Chicago Teachers Union that got the presents. I mean, other than the $250 that Brandon Johnson's re-election campaign got from the couple hundred people in attendance.
It's just such arrogance to charge to go to your birthday party.
Well, it's a fundraiser.
I know, but still.
$250, that's all you can get?
That's, yeah. Okay.
I didn't
they
see,
described it, Dan, as so much diversity in one room to celebrate Mayor Johnson.
That's not what I saw from the videos, but okay. Well, whatever you say.
So much diversity.
Chicago Teachers Union, they got a contract. State-funded media reporting, so they know because they're being told to report. The agreement will go to a union committee for approval today.
Oh, boy.
And then to the full congregation of communists subsequent to that. So what does it include? Well, the union decided to accept the salary offer. This is, by the way, WBZ reporting. And we know WBZ, which is Chicago's NPR station, is an unbiased, nonpartisan news outlet because Catherine Maher from NPR told us that before a congressional committee last week.
Sworn statements, yes.
So a year of tense negotiations. Oh, I'm sure.
Yes.
Hard-fought contract. Union decided to accept a salary offer put forward in the summer of 4% COLAs each of the 4 years of the contract. So there's 16% raise over 4 years. The CTU wanted 7,000 more staff members hired. But
a dwindling population of students?
Will accept a couple thousand more positions that will be filled. They're going to add a couple more thousand positions, yes, to a school district that's hemorrhaging population where you've got upwards of 40% truancy rates. Okay. The union also promised to hire 30 librarians each of the next 3 years. That's great. Now, if you could just teach the kids to read the books in there, and I mean actually have books that you need to read and not just look at pornographic pictures. They wanted additional pay increases for veteran teachers who, unlike less experienced teachers, have to go years without getting increases based on experience. The step increases. CPS eventually agreed to give veteran teachers more regular pay increases. Also, an increase of 50 more sustainable community schools, up from 20. That brings community services into schools and seeks to make them community hubs. The wraparound services that Karen Lewis always used to talk about. These are not just schools, they're community hubs. And so get the social workers in there and the mental health professionals and, really lard it up proper like. Great. Yeah. Now, there was some other obstacles that needed to be overcome, and heroically they were. Again, BEZ breathlessly reporting, for months the union struggled to find common ground with CPS officials over elementary school teachers, giving them more planning time, giving teachers who received average reviews 3 years between performance evaluations. Those things were hammered out. So this will be the first contract without a strike vote in the 15 years under the union's current leadership. First time the CTU has landed a contract without a strike vote in the 15 years under the union's current leadership. I guess when you say current leadership, it's the larger leadership. It's not just the titular head going from a Lewis to a Sharkey to a Stacey Davis Gates. How about that?
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You can also text us on that same line.
That's a real feather in Brandon Johnson's cap.
He got her done, yeah.
Wonderful.
They didn't have the votes to strike. That's what I heard. CTU members,
Yeah,
some of them
right.
are worried about their reputation. They're like, oh, really? You think you want to that's ever going to change?
That's a lie. They didn't have the votes to strike. They always have the votes to strike. They got a deal. They got the deal that they wanted.
Right.
So what is there to strike about? I mean, it's so ridiculous. The idea that this was a negotiation and it was tense and there was back and forth and there was the prospect of a strike.
And they didn't go on spring break, Dan.
They ran roughshod over him, but they didn't run roughshod over him. That's also untrue. They ran roughshod over a tiny dancer. They ran roughshod over Lori Lightfoot. They ran together here. I know this is a city where people think that there are different pots of money. Some are taxpayer that units of government have. The city of Chicago's is so much different than CPS's, and that CPS is a separate taxing body than the city of Chicago, and so they operate independently of one another. And that people that are of the same disposition, much less same organization, as in the case of Brandon Johnson, are somehow adversarial negotiators. This is all theater. All theater. They didn't have the strike votes. You crazy? What a joke. What a joke this city is. Sticking on WBZ for a second, because, again, found out from Catherine Maher last week that it's a unbiased, nonpartisan organization. This story, just a related story, since Sanctuary City and Sanctuary State is still very much a pressing issue. Some suburban Republicans and those with statewide ambitions might want to take notice of this going into the 26th cycle after tomorrow. And WBEZ story, as Trump wages war on Tren de Aragua, little evidence links Venezuelan gang to violence in Chicago. Despite the president's denigrating the group as a terrorist organization. Denigrate? How dare you insult Tren de Aragua?
Don't you dare.
Almost all the 37 men flagged by Chicago police as possible members have faced only drug charges and citations for driving infractions. Only drug charges, huh? Almost all. That sounds like a few apartment buildings in Aurora, Colorado.
Yeah, sure does.
That was a March 30th story. NPR, which tasked 3 reporters to put together that great report. I guess you can have group reporting when it comes to state-funded media. Perhaps, I mean, talk about if Catherine Maher didn't convince you that NPR should not be in the receiving taxpayer funding, maybe WBEZ, its Chicago station, will convince you. So that was a March 30th story. A March 21st press release from the Department of Justice. U.S. Marshals, in a coordinated effort in cooperation with the Chicago Police Department, captured a high-ranking member of Venezuelan street gang, Tren de Aragua. Street gang, hey, why are you denigrating them? Hey, it's a social club. Venezuelan street gang Tren de Aragua was arrested in Cobb County, Georgia. Ricardo Gonzalez, we talked about him before, had an arrest warrant from the Chicago Police Department for kidnapping and is wanted on probable cause for 2 counts of first-degree murder and attempted first-degree murder. That was that mass shooting in South Shore back in January. I mean, but for the most part, the members of the Tren de Aragua social organization have not engaged in violence. For the most part. By the way, a bunch of other Venezuelan migrants in the country illegally and in Chicago, they haven't been identified as being Tren de Aragua necessarily, or I shouldn't say haven't been reported as being Tren de Aragua, but some of their activities definitely veered into violent, and one wonders about affiliations and the sort of reporting you get from the Chicago Press Corps, which is mostly state-funded media here. Kevin in Austin, Texas, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
I was going to say the reason that Brandon Johnson's able to get away with this stuff and people like him get elected is because they have a standing army. That's what you were talking about earlier in the show. And I've got an idea how the Republicans can create a standing army. Do you think you can guess what that is?
What?
Precinct organizations.
Yeah, isn't it amazing? Just precinct organizations, and if somebody could fund on a precinct level Republican clubs so people can maybe meet once a month or something like that, you would have that standing army. Wouldn't cost a lot of money. So, people in the country club are thinking about it. Just, let's throw a couple of bucks per precinct and develop little Republican organizations. It's grassroots, and then those people will also keep pressure on the people that are elected, keep them informed. Text threads are easy to do that. You got a precinct chair, get 5 people in your precinct, just start texting the text groups. Similar to I don't think you have to get that signal chat that they had before. But I think that's how you organize. That's how you get a standing army.
Yeah, you have to organize around something. Let's all get together and volunteer. To do what? To do what exactly? Yeah, I know. I got it. But that leadership piece is what the Republican Party here has lacked.
Well, I think the guy you had who was running for Downers Grove could be somebody who demonstrates that leadership. So.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks for the call, Kevin. It's a start. There are others around the state, of course, but not in the numbers that are required to be equal to the task at hand. And so this is the challenge, of course. I'll say again what I said earlier. People that don't rise to the challenge, well, then don't be surprised when those you didn't fight for when you should have aren't behind you when you need them, like on Election Day, which is something that continues to surprise Republicans because they think, well, don't you understand what we said, how bad Brandon Johnson is, how bad Preckwinkle is, how bad Pritzker is, how bad Durbin is, or whoever runs to replace Durbin in 2026? Yeah, I know. I'm not huge fans of them. And you are exactly right. Right. By the way, BLM Brandon, I tell you, very impressive.
Work because he worked his birthday.
Yeah, rather than like do what CTU types normally do, which is spend some time in a sunny climate for spring break. Are they ever not on break? He went down to St. Louis to beat the streets for Tashara Jones, and I think the reason he went down there to help Mayor Jones there is because it was a great opportunity for him to not be the mayor in the room presiding over the most violent city in America. St. Louis has a higher murder per capita rate than Chicago. Chicago, in the aggregate, because it's obviously significantly bigger than St. Louis, is a more violent city in the aggregate. But on a per capita basis, St. Louis is more violent, at least with respect to murder. But so they had a lot to talk about.
Hey, St. Louis. This is Mayor Tashara Jones here with my brother mayor from Chicago, Brandon Johnson.
49 still fine.
I am just so humbled that when I put out the call to my brother and sister mayors that they answered. Back in March, the mayor of Tacoma, Washington came, and now the mayor of Chicago is here. So thank you, Brandon, for coming to St. Louis to help me get across the finish line.
Of course. Let me just say this really quickly. St. Louis, you all have someone special here. Mayor Tashara Jones and her commitment to working people is just an incredible example for mayors across this country. Your investment in young people, your investment in mental health and economic development, that's exactly what St. Louis deserves. So on behalf of the city of Chicago, we're here to just encourage all of the residents of this amazing city, with shout out to Florissant and of course in Hazelwood East. My wife is originally from this area, so I'm here just to support our sister, your mayor, to make sure that those investments that she's made, that we can continue to grow our economy. So get out and vote. Just 11 more days to go. Tashara Jones, you all know who you all have. I know who you all have. So let's make sure we keep what we have.
That's it right there. There's big city Dem governance right there, as nicely embodied by BLM Brandon and Tashara Jones. Yeah.
Going door to door. I mean, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Knocking on door. This is so embarrassing.
There's a celebrity.
Oh, that person should be blessed that he rang her doorbell.
You get celebrities down there. You get mayor from Chicago coming down to help us in our little hamlet of St. Louis. That's exciting. By the way, for his birthday party, I did note that his black wife was there.
Oh, her name's Stacy, right? I think it's Stacy. Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
really? Was it? Well, she was supposed to. They just redid that office of hers for $80K, and I still don't know what her platform is. Like Michelle Obama's platform was eating healthy and getting salad bars in schools, and Maggie Daley at Maggie Daley Park. And what is her platform? What is she doing?
She's the first lady of the city of Chicago.
Okay.
Maggie Daley spent money on a park, so.
Okay. All right. No. I'm just saying. I mean, it was just
What a
curious.
wonderful
Curious.
contribution. Natasha and Palatine. Hi, Natasha.
Hi, yes.
Okay, go ahead, Natasha. You're on.
Yeah, my name's Natasha Mucci. I'm running with my friend Violetta Bliss. We're writing candidates for District 211 School Board. We're just running. There's local moms running. We're trying to get the politics out of the schools.
Okay, so Natasha, tell me your last name again. Say your last name again.
Mucci. It's Mucci, M-U-C-C-I.
M-U-C-C-I, and your co-running mate?
Violet.
Yeah, Violetta.
What's her last name?
Yeah, we need last
that.
name. We're writing you in. Violetta what?
Thank you.
Violetta what?
F-L-I-S.
F-L-I-S?
Yes, correct.
All right. Natasha Mucci.
Correct.
Violetta Fliss.
Yes.
Got that right. Okay. All right. Thank you.
District 211, write-in candidates.
District 211's always a problem district, right? They were tip of the spear when it came to boys in the girls' room, weren't they?
Mm-hmm. Yep, and a boy transitioned to a girl and tried out and got on the gymnastics team, taking a spot away from a girl who worked very hard to have that spot.
Okay, well, exciting times. Again, happy birthday, Brandon Johnson, 49 and still fine. Chris and Aurora.
Hi, Dan and Amy. This is
Chris Lawson from Kane County. I'm the treasurer. Thank you so much for the good work you do. Your guests are just so knowledgeable. I learn more listening to you in the morning than I do the rest of my day. I'm calling in opposition to the sales tax referendum that's on the ballot in Kane County. I don't know whether to call what's happening in Kane County on April Fool's Day, of all days, larceny or gluttony, or both. They've doubled the spending out of the general fund in Kane County. They've doubled the spending in just 4 years. It's an 88% increase according to their own audited financial statements. Now their solution is to get $51 million more, or 47% increase in what they'll be able to spend in just one vote. So they blew through $93 million of COVID money, $103 million of ARPA money. We produced in the Treasurer's Office an extra $27 million, and that still hasn't been enough. Their answer is to get more. So rather than give a person in a bar who's drunk already another drink, the answer is no. You made a really good point this morning, among many, about the 600,000 votes in Wisconsin that have to be mobilized of Trump voters. In Kane County, there are 9,000 permanent vote-by-mail Republicans. As of last Friday, there were 6,000 that hadn't sent in their ballots yet, or they had not been received, so they need to get those in. That would be the first tier of votes that just have to be counted.
And people wonder why. I'm sure people in Kane County wonder why Kane County is now controlled by Democrats. Well, there's part of your answer right there.
Exactly. So thank you very much for your time.
Chris Lawson, thanks for calling us. Appreciate it. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM 560 mobile app today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Come on with this, people. Move it!
Did you really think you could make that company deliver yourself?
Oh, I cannot handle any more traffic.
You could be getting much more done at your place of business.
I've wasted 45 minutes and now this place is gonna close.
Time is money. Let Quick Delivery Service take on the traffic hassle for you. They'll deliver almost anything, from large pallets of materials to important documents, or both. No forms, no labels, no scanning. Just tell Quick Delivery Service where it's going, they'll pick it up, and get it to your destination quickly. Your cargo delivery is tracked in real time with GPS. Notifications are delivered right to your inbox. Visit QuickDelivery.com. That's QuickDelivery.com. Or you can deliver like this.
Seriously, another train?
Or get your delivery there on time with QuickDelivery.com. Or call 847-534-2244. 847-534-2244.
Hey there. We are MS Consulting Services. Old school IT consulting with cutting edge results. We're a firm that is genuinely excited and proud to serve our clients. We entered the business world nearly 30 years ago and have since shared our expertise with clients nationwide. We specialize in system administration for legacy operating systems like OpenVMS and Unix, providing continuity assurance for your staff and systems. Our focus on personal connections helps establish lasting relationships, offering a deeper sense of fulfillment, all while maintaining a stable IT infrastructure. Seem like a nice change of pace? Check us out. You will know what we're all about after just one call. Give us a ring at 1-800-MIT-0404 or visit mscsinc.com. Again, that's 1-800-MIT-0404 or visit mscsinc.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 8:38, since Wisconsin was invoked by Chris Lawson, Derek Van Orden, he is a congressman from western Wisconsin. He's one of those ostensibly on the chopping block if that state Supreme Court race isn't won by Brad Schimmel tomorrow in the Cheesehead State. We'll talk to Representative Van Orden about tomorrow's election in Wisconsin at 8:38.
But now into the newsroom we go. Here's Nikki Whaley.
Good morning. It's 37 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Atlantic editor-in-chief Jeffrey Goldberg's refuting the claims of National Security Advisor Mike Waltz in the aftermath of the leak of military attack plans in Yemen. Appearing on NBC's Meet the Press, Goldberg said Waltz's claims that the two had never met are not true. Goldberg didn't go into detail on how they know each other, only saying that his number was in Waltz's phone and the National Security Advisor likely added him to the Signal group chat discussing military plans by accident. A person is dead. A second individual is injured after a serious crash on the south side. The incident happened on Thursday night on I-57 near Halstead Street. Illinois State Police say that a Chevy Impala ran off the road and ran into an embankment before hitting a tree. The driver, a woman, died at the scene. A man who was a passenger in the vehicle was taken to the hospital. The southbound lanes of I-57 were closed until 1:50 a.m. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants with medical PPO insurance? It's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Making smiles great again. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Charlie Kirk is making a move.
It's a true story.
Starting Monday, March 31st, Charlie Kirk will be heard each weekday at 11 a.m.
It's actually much more psychologically interesting and deeper.
Right after Mike Gallagher.
Massive.
Same Charlie.
Where are they getting their news and information from?
New time.
It will change your life.
Weekdays at 11.
Always keep your eyes on the horizon of what is coming next.
Right here on AM 560.
Get off your tail and be better.
The Answer.
Hey, folks, I just can't help thinking of our stress levels. And high blood pressure is the number one key risk factor for mortality. In fact, 1 in 2 Americans walking around have high blood pressure. That's a ticking time bomb. But thankfully, it's never been easier to take control of your blood pressure. With 120 Life, a truly remarkable natural juice blend that can actually help you lower your blood pressure without the side effects of taking pills every day. 120 Life is formulated with scientifically backed ingredients from superfruits, berries, and minerals that have been shown to naturally help control high blood pressure. And it works. It's endorsed by 600 health professionals. And I assure you, that's not fake news. I use it myself. I love it. You can try it for yourself risk-free with their 2-week trial. Just go to 120 Life and use the coupon code LIBERTY to save 15% and receive free shipping. If 120 Life doesn't help lower your blood pressure in 2 weeks, they give you your money back. It's guaranteed. Go to 120life.com. That's 120life.com. Go to 120life.com today.
President Trump has made some pretty amazing claims since he's taken his seat as president. He's delivering on what he promised. On Inauguration Day, Trump's very first declaration was,
"The golden age of America begins right now. From this day forward, our country will flourish."
Consider this. Since the election, gold has shot up hundreds of dollars per ounce, shattering all-time record highs. Fox Valley Coins does not pretend to know the future, but they do know that if you're buying or selling gold or silver, they are the place to do it. These are some of the top reasons people choose a dealer. You want a national dealer with a local presence you can deal with face-to-face. You want a large selection, the best prices, and great service. You want to walk in with cash and walk out with the best product. You want to deal with legacy dealers with integrity. Whether buying or selling or just one valuation, Fox Valley Coins is your answer for choosing a dealer. Visit Fox Valley Coins, 1 light north of I-88 on Route 59 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. FoxValleyCoins.com. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
So how's the separation going? Are you guys able to work things out?
No. I think we're headed for divorce.
That sucks. Gonna be an expensive legal battle?
Well, no, that's one thing we agree on, actually. Arbitration.
Arbitration? Like mediation?
Sort of, but better. We'll have a firm decision.
Oh, that's easier. Who's your arbitrator?
Bert Hochberg.
That attorney at Schiller, DeCanto, and Fleck?
Yeah, senior partner. Comes highly recommended.
Are you facing divorce or a family law issue? Burton S. Hochberg offers arbitration services, a dispute resolution process that will save you time, money, and the complexity of litigation. Let Burton hear and resolve your claims with choices that best suit you and yours. To discuss, call Bert directly. Or even better, have your attorney call Bert at 773-255-6150. That's 773-255-6150. Again, 773-255-6150. No one knows arbitration like Bert Hochberg. Why go through a difficult divorce? Call Bert at Schiller, DeCanto, and Fleck, Chicago's preeminent family law firm since 1981.
You need a construction company, but who?
Call Press
A construction company you can trust that shares your Christian and conservative values. For decades, Crosscom has been doing work in Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana, and Wisconsin. Roofs, siding, windows, doors, gutters, basically everything for your home or business, even solar. Quality work and professional services that make you feel great about your decision to work with Crosscom.
Call Crosscom.
630-871-5500. Give them a chance to earn your business. If your repairs are due to storm, fire, or flood damage, you need to
call Crosscom.
They're licensed public adjusters. They work for you, not the insurance company. Crosscom will work to get you the money you deserve, the maximum payout. They know the insurance companies and how to deal with them. They win for you.
Call Crosscom.
Crosscom Construction and Public Adjusters.
This is Dan Lights with Crosscom. You can trust us with your home or business for high-quality work and fair prices. It's the only way we do business.
630-871-5500. CrosscomPublicAdjusters.com.
Struggling with arthritis, back pain, or sore muscles? Get fast, long-lasting relief with Ken's Pain Relief. Ken's Pain Relief is a powerful doctor-recommended roll-on that cools, soothes, and relieves pain in minutes so you can get back to doing what you love. Made in the USA, Ken's Pain Relief is safe, effective, and backed by a 30-day money-back guarantee. Try it today. Order now at kenspainrelief.com or call 800-898-3755. That's kenspainrelief.com or call 800-898-3755. Don't let pain slow you down.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering smart security systems to homes and businesses. Call Goldilocks at 708-889-5600.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. The Edens inbound from Lake to Montrose, about 17 minutes. Outbound, it's a little bit slow. It's about 16 minutes. Now inbound on the Kennedy from Montrose to the Byrne interchange, about 37 minutes. Some stop and go delays between Montrose and Armitage. Again, it's going to be slow between North Avenue and Chicago Avenue. Now on the outbound side, it's going to be very slow, about 40 minutes between the Byrne interchange to Montrose. That's due to slow traffic between Chicago Avenue and Sacramento Avenue. The support is sponsored by Discover. Listen, you can skip this ad or you can double your first year cash back with Discover. Still here? Good choice. Discover automatically matches all the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year. See terms at discover.com/credit card. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Breezy and cooler. Clouds this morning. Some clouds and sun for the afternoon. High 48. Partly cloudy, breezy tonight. Low 32. Clouds and chilly for tomorrow. The high 45. Shower and a gusty thunderstorm on Wednesday. The high near 70. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Tomorrow is Election Day. We've been talking a lot about local elections in Illinois and Wisconsin in particular, Wisconsin State Supreme Court race in particular, in the closing weeks of this election. Scott Pressler, who is one of the grassroots organizers that's up there from sort of the national office, if you will. You may remember him. He's the long-haired dude. We've had him on the show, who was riding point in voter registration operations in places like Bucks County, Pennsylvania, and other counties in Pennsylvania to deliver Pennsylvania for President Trump, which, of course, happened. He put out a missive over the weekend. Western Wisconsin, that's Congressman Derek Van Orden's district, is not turning out in the numbers we need. Democrat Susan Crawford has already stated she will redraw congressional maps if she's elected. So if Western Wisconsin does not turn out on April 1st for Brad Schimmel, its voters will lose their current Republican registration. We need sky-high voter turnout in Eau Claire, Grant, La Crosse, Portage, and Wood counties. Well, let's go right to the source on this and find out how that is going in advance of tomorrow's election. Pleased to be joined by Congressman Derek Van Orden from Western Wisconsin, the third, if you're keeping score at home. Congressman Van Orden, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Never right the first time. Please call me Derek.
Okay.
Yeah,
Great,
it's
Derek.
Great to speak to some Flatlanders. So this is essentially a bipartisan call. So it's
right in with the.
It is. Oh, by the way,
cheese head humor. Yeah.
So, hey, listen, man. Elon Musk walked on stage with a cheese head last night in Green Bay. And it
I
was
saw
great to
that.
see him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Did you win the $1 million by any chance?
No, I didn't. I don't. So it's funny. You, in order to be eligible for that, you had to sign this petition to help stop these rogue left-wing activist judges. But so I didn't know if it counted that I'm actually the first member of Congress to put in a resolution to impeach a justice. So I don't know if that like Trump did, if that would have shown special favor, but so no. And honestly, as a public figure, I wouldn't have been able to accept that. It doesn't matter how much money it is, and we need. Oh yeah, no, I know. It's kind of only half a joke because if you look what's going on, Elon addressed it directly last night. There's too many millionaires in Congress that weren't millionaires when they showed up.
Yeah,
and I don't know how that works out. So, but yeah, hey, back to this race, man. Southwestern Wisconsin, we're comprised mostly of farmers and people that work in manufacturing, and we really don't want the government in our business. That's just a fact. And so the issue is that Republicans normally vote in droves every 4 years, and then that is winnowed down during the midterm elections, and then April elections. We do not have the muscle memory built into us as Republicans and conservatives, because you're not always the same thing, to vote during these April elections. That's how Janet Protasiewicz won by 11 points last April.
Right.
So we have an institutional problem in the state of Wisconsin where we really want the government out of our business to the point where we don't want to participate. But I tell people this, man. If you don't want the government in your business, you better get in the business of government, because Democrats look at politics like it's part of their job.
Well, what's at stake? Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
Well, what's at stake if Brad Schimmel loses? How is Wisconsin going to change?
Well, so Susan Crawford has been fundraising on flipping 2 congressional seats, which will essentially get our margins so narrow in the House that we could lose the Republican majority in the House. And Hakeem Jeffries has been campaigning on flipping 2 House seats because he wants to be the Speaker of the House. So what that does, real politics, is this. The Democrat Party did an analysis, and they realized that they got creamed in November. And what they're trying to do is disenfranchise 77 million Americans that voted for Donald Trump and stop his agenda cold. So if Brad Schimmel, if people in Wisconsin who are listening to this right now, if they have not voted, even if they're not registered, you can register and vote tomorrow. The polls are going to be open until 8 p.m. You just got to be in line by 8 p.m. If Brad Schimmel does not win this election, we're looking at the 77 million Americans who voted for Donald Trump to have 4 years to get his agenda through, only having 2. That's real. And on the statewide stuff, we're looking at, it's an 80% issue where Wisconsinites want voter ID. That referendum's on the ballot. Susan Crawford campaigned actively to get rid of school choice. She worked for an organization that was trying to get rid of voter ID and Act 10. Act 10 is why the state of Wisconsin is financially solvent and you guys aren't.
Yeah, Scott
That's
Walker.
all on the ballot.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, and so I mean, I think that's well said. And to your point, I mean, one of the reasons that Trump called back Elise Stefanik from being his U.S. ambassador to the UN is because of the concerns that you're raising, both about what's going on in Wisconsin as well as potentially even special elections in Florida, which is a bit of a surprise. But and this is perhaps a longer term question, but it has some relevance even in the last 24 hours here before, or 36 hours before the polls close. So what you learned, you meaning Wisconsin conservatives, learned from the state Supreme Court race from last year, and how that's being applied this year to deal with something that you knew going in, which is that a lot of conservatives don't have the muscle memory to show up in municipal elections.
Correct. But this is a statewide election, so this is not
right. I understand, but off year elections, if you will.
Correct, because it's in April, right. And we're just not used to doing that. But here's why President Trump won in the state of Wisconsin. conservatives use the tactics, techniques, and procedures that the Democrats have been using, and that's early voting. So there was no 2 o'clock in the morning spike for Democrat votes coming in because a lot of Republicans had already voted. And that's what we're looking at now. The returns from southwestern Wisconsin, unfortunately, aren't as high as we want them to be. So, like, for instance, I know I'm getting on a plane today and I'm flying back to Washington, D.C. I knew I could not be here to vote in person on April 1st. So I ordered an absentee ballot a long time ago. I filled it out. I just put it on my kitchen table, right? And it just sat there for a while. And then I waited till I came back last Friday, and Sarah Jane, who's my wife of 31 years, an awesome mother of my children and grandmother to our grandchildren, she went down. We drove our little Viking, a UTV, down to our clerk's office. I physically handed my absentee ballot to my clerk, who I trust completely, and then she handed Sarah Jane a different ballot that Sarah filled out, and then she handed it back to the clerk. It took 7 minutes. So we have to understand as conservatives that you got to vote when you can, not necessarily when you want to. So I love riding my Harley to the polls, seeing my neighbors, waving, the whole process, showing them your ID, which you got to do when you turn in your ballot. But, show your ID, go to the machine, get the I voted sticker. I love doing that because it's part of our culture as conservatives. We love participating, right? But I knew I had to go to work in D.C. And let me give you another example. This happened. I get a note. I talk to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of my constituents all the time. I'm constantly on my phone. I'm not playing video games. I'm talking to my constituents, right? He's an over-the-road trucker. And he's like, hey, dude, I got called away to Topeka or something, right? And he's got to pay his mortgage. And he said, how do I vote? This is on November 5th. I'm like, well, you voted already, right? He's like, no, I love voting on voting day. I'm like, well, then you're done. Like, unless you turn down that job, then you're going to have a problem making rent or paying your mortgage. You don't get a vote, and you did it to yourself. That's the problem. We like voting on voting day, but I'm imploring everyone, the ship that sailed for this election, you got to go there tomorrow. Polls, you got to be in line by 8 o'clock. Vote when you can, not necessarily when you have to. If you don't trust the postal system, which I personally do what I did last Friday, walk into your clerk's office and hand them your absentee ballot, or when early absentee balloting opens, go in there, show them your ID, and get a ballot. We have to have a cultural change in the state of Wisconsin.
Yeah, I mean, that's in a lot of places, too. I mean, all these, we talked about it a bit earlier in the show, an operative friend of mine that I spoke to, 600,000 cheeseheads that voted for Trump in 16, 20, or 24 that did not vote in the April 23 election. Oh, yeah. And so, I mean, that's there's just a fraction of that is a huge universe, and it could spell the difference in this race.
If 60% of the low propensity voters vote for Schimmel, we win, period. And here's what people don't seem to understand. Wisconsin is not a blue or a purple state. Wisconsin is a red state. We are a center-right state. The problem is our conservatives don't vote. Get maybe 30% of our hunters that vote. They're gunning for our Second Amendment rights all the time. A lot of people who want school choice do not vote. And this lady, Susan Crawford, is gunning for school choice. 80% of Wisconsinites believe that you should have to have voter ID to vote. But so many of these folks that believe in that don't bother voting themselves because they think their vote don't count. But we just showed that it did.
Yeah, right.
Donald Trump won. We kept the House. We got the Senate. That came from voting. So we're working on it up here. And we've been working super hard. I do want to thank, like Turning Point USA, Americans for Prosperity. You mentioned Scott Pressler, who's a buddy of mine. Those organizations, TPUSA and AFP, have been. I swear they're going to have to buy these young people new pairs of shoes because they've been burning the soles off doing doors, which is an incredibly effective way to do it. Our Republican Party county chairs and vice chairs and the organizations for our county parties have been working to get out the vote. And that's what this is. It's a get out the vote effort. And I started banging this drum last October, trying to tell everybody what the real stakes are. And it took so long for everybody to get on board. And I hope we just didn't wait too late or wait too long.
Congressman Derek Van Orden. He's rep for Wisconsin's 3rd in southwestern Wisconsin, as he was describing. Derek, good luck tomorrow. We appreciate you joining us, and we'll be telling our Illinoisans here that have cheesehead friends, talk to your friends up there if you're not already on your way there to help with Election Day activities.
Yep. Text them today, and listen, anytime you guys get your passport ready, you're welcome to come a little north to a small country I call America.
Yes, we've heard of it.
We've been many times.
Derek, thank you.
You know, I'm obligated by international law to make these cracks, you know.
Right. I always bring my passport, don't worry, yes.
Yeah. Well, listen, hey, God bless you guys, and thank you for your work. I truly appreciate it. And if you're in Wisconsin or have Wisconsin friends, vote if you're the former, and contact your buddies if you are the latter, and I would ask that God also bless you and your families. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's what Chicago is talking about. It's Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy on AM 560. The Answer.
They took everything. Our equipment, our supplies, it's all gone.
It's devastating. Every order is going to be delayed for months, and our customers are going to find someone else.
I don't know if we'll ever recover from this. We're already getting calls from clients checking on their orders.
Who knows how long it will take to get back on our feet? What were we thinking not upgrading our security?
Don't let a break-in devastate your business. Protect yourself with Goldilocks. They'll create a customized security solution for you. From commercial doors with keyless entry to 24/7 alarm monitoring, they have you covered. Learn more at GoldilocksInc.com and have a security technician conduct an on-site assessment of your business. Plus, AM 560 listeners get their first 3 months of monitoring free with a new install. Call Goldilocks now. 708-889-5600. That's 708-889-5600. Goldilocks, Chicagoland's premier locksmith doors and security systems company since 1981.
This is Albert Mohler for townhall.com. Will Western civilization survive? Well, not if we refuse to deport our sworn enemies. For several decades now, the academic left has seen Western civilization as the oppressive past that must give way to the utopian future. The United States and Israel are painted at the center of the left's bullseye. All this burst onto the headlines when Hamas carried out its murderous terror attack upon Israel on October 7, 2023. This brings us to Mahmoud Khalil, who at the time of the demonstrations was a graduate student and leader of the pro-Palestinian protests. The Trump administration moved to deport Khalil on the basis of his actions. Now he's become a test case for whether or not America has the courage to defend itself and our own values. Western civilization has enemies, and plenty of them are found on our elite college campuses. Our civilization will either defend itself or surrender. Any civilization that encourages its enemies to populate its elite institutions is just announcing its surrender, and it will deserve its defeat. I'm Albert Mohler.
It's tax season. By now, we're all a bit tired of numbers, but here's one you need to hear. $16.5 billion. That's how much money in refunds the IRS flagged for possible identity fraud last year. Now, here's a good number, $100 million. That's how many data points LifeLock monitors every second. If your identity's stolen, they'll fix it guaranteed. Save up to 40% in your first year with promo code CLAY. Visit LifeLock.com. That's LifeLock.com, promo code CLAY. Terms apply.
Progressive presents Employee of the Month. Small Business Edition. Today's recipient from Lucky Larry's Landscaping, Larry! Larry saved his business money with a quick commercial auto quote from Progressive. Does it help he's his own marketing manager, accountant, executive assistant, and never been late? Technically, yes, but saving really put him over the edge. So, Larry, give Larry a round of applause. Be your own Larry. See if you could save in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
AM 560. The Answer.
Dan and Amy, RFK Jr., that is, sort of taking a page out of your book with the fat shaming.
Really?
Yeah, did you catch this?
Oh, that's awful. How dare he?
Boy, honestly, you could be his comms person. RFK at an event with West Virginia Governor Patrick Morrisey, who needs to focus less on why West Virginia didn't get into the tournament and more on his belt line. Now, that's not me saying it.
I got to know, I said to Dr. Morris, or Governor Morrisey, the first time I saw him, I said, "You look like you ate Governor Morrisey." And And there was a lot of talk about getting healthy again, and I'm very happy that he's invited me to be his personal trainer. And I am going to put him... I'm going to put him on a really rigorous regimen. And we're going to put him on a carnivore diet. We're going to make him raise your hand if you want Governor Morrissey to do a public weigh-in once a month.
Oh, my God.
In his skivvies.
And then when he's lost 30 pounds, I'm going to come back to the state and do a celebration and a public weigh-in with him.
Wow. How about that? Could you imagine what he would have to say to Jelly Belly? I mean, that would be an all hands on deck.
Oh my gosh, I'm having a hard time processing this because he's being serious, and the audience is kind of laughing, like, oh, "Yeah, you'll come back when he loses 30 pounds." Isn't that funny? Isn't that cute? And he's being serious, and he can be his personal trainer because they can do Zoom trainings. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he's gonna whip Governor Morrissey's fat ass into shape. This is like
come hell or high water, Dad.
Yeah, he's a little bit of a HHS secretary / drill sergeant, but I kind of like it. I really would. I would love to hear him do a little public riff on J.B. Pritzker with Pritzker in the room.
Well, he's probably the only governor in the history of our country who broke their femur by just standing at a state fair.
Yeah,
and I really thought that would be the turnaround for him. Like, you know what? I have to stop indulging. I have to exercise restraint, caution. I want to be alive for my kids when they're
That would be good
older.
material. The whole breaking your femur standing up would be great material for RFK to riff on. I mean, I'd like to see him do a little insult comedy act to all these fat-ass politicians. It's good stuff.
Wow. All right. Thanks so much for joining us. Thanks to Keith Conrad, who's in for Quinn McCarthy, who will be back tomorrow. And to Justin Kosick. Enjoy the day. It will be warmer midweek. And it is now 9 a.m. WIND Chicago.
March is ending.